Hey guys. Well, it's just starting, so I guess we'll give them a couple minutes. We'll do all like little talking before. I'm gonna go ahead and post the link and stuff. But I'm excited.
Okay, well, you
Yeah,
posted
this was a good one.
look at the link, and I'm about to retweet the link. There we go. Hold on.
This is why I gotta hurry up and get a new computer so I can be retweeting links and shit. Because if I try to retweet it from my phone, the shit is not gonna work. It's gonna kick me right the fuck out. Nah, so if I like try to go to a different app, I'll come back. You ever notice like sometimes I leave and I'll come back and I'm like I can't hear y'all. It's like anytime I leave StreamYard, it'll do that. And I'm so lazy. My Twitter has been signed in since 2015, and I don't remember the password, so I don't ever sign into Twitter from the phone. I mean, from the computer. Laziness.
Okay, we're all good. Okay,
that's fine.
I'm good. No, have you? Well, I was gonna say you want like a cheap one. There's a place I know online that sells like cheap, like refurbished computers. I don't know what you need.
Yeah, I mean it's a joint down the street. I think even though I hate to be the nigga that's like, oh, I'm about to get my taxes. I saw what my taxes was this year, and I was like, yeah, that'll be the gift of myself a new computer. So.
Well, I ain't got no children, and these dogs don't count as no dependents. So
yeah.
Look, the children buying clothes for work.
I'm trying to move, so
it was wild over here. I was like, wow, the government fucked me and didn't even buy me dinner first.
Damn. They ain't even send a Rolls Royce.
I'm on my way to the sperm bank here next week. Time to have a baby and time for next text.
Oh wow, I hear you.
Gonna borrow somebody's kids on my way to borrow children.
Once they kicked that money rate up, because I used to get a certain amount for this nigga, and they kicked that shit up, I was like, damn, who want a baby?
Goodbye. I'm gonna borrow somebody, baby. It's somebody out there that's got 4 kids, and that fourth one ain't getting them. Somebody gonna let them have their baby.
Honestly, people just don't openly ask that shit no more. Is what the problem is. Like, used to like really be like, hey,
and now it's uncouth. Just like I can't like 2 for $1 you on food stamps no more. Now you want like 70% on the dollar, and it's like,
like
Slim the other day came at me.
Not the markup.
They do. They don't want a 2 for $1 anymore. They want you to pay like 70 cents on the dollar, and I was like, I don't need them that bad, but thank you.
Asked me for a product the other day, and the equivalent of the product is what she wanted to give me on her food stamp card, and I was like, baby, that's not how that works. I said, especially for what you asking for, like. I'm like the audacity, like, nah, baby,
wow,
like, I can't do that.
She said, let me get $29.99 worth.
Wow.
Exactly.
Like it was a fun pack of Doritos. Fascinating.
Yeah.
It was like she was in the Midwest. She was like, let me get 10 on 20 and that Michigan jacket. Anyway.
No. That's not how it is.
All right. My internet is kind of being weird, so we will rock and roll. So if I jump out, y'all just keep it moving, and
we're gonna do it.
But also, I need a new computer too, mostly because I don't have a straight jack to the modem on mine. I don't have that. So
actually, you know what? I don't think I have one on this one. But you know, you can just get a dongle adapter.
Motherfucking shit. Hell no, this one don't either. Do they not do that anymore?
You got to get.
Nigga, I guess they don't
no, they don't because I was looking at like docks for this, like a docking station for this computer, and they're like everything was like, here, get this little 4-way thing with the USB-C and plug it in. And I was like,
that's what I got. That's what I got to do. Yep.
That's a lot.
I got a little dongle. Yeah, but it came from work, so I was like, fuck it, it's free. I'm gonna use it for everything.
Oh, like wait, so like you mean like just like a little plug-in thing?
So it's a USB on one side, and then on the other side is the RJ45, which is what you.
Oh well, my.
I
it's
can't.
a glare, but
yep. It boom.
Exactly.
Yeah, it plug into your computer. The other side,
I'm
you can
about to
plug
buy
the
that shit right the
cord
fuck now.
Yeah, I was like, because that's and and normally they have like they have like the hub one, so you can plug everything else in. Hey Tam, so that's why it does that weird shit.
Yeah,
I think
I had one too from work that was like
interesting.
I had one from work that had like 8 switches on it. You plug it into your computer, had 8 joints on the back. I was like, bet. So
that's wild. I think I'm gonna definitely have to like buy this like tonight. Cool. Okay, so
let's do this.
We're ready. All
we
right.
are ready.
Hey
I'm
guys,
right I promise.
He said we ready, and then he got the fuck up. Okay,
well,
I'm right here.
I know it was just funny how you did that. So, okay, hey guys. New episode of All Docked Up. I'm so glad you guys can join us. I appreciate y'all. I'm Chris. That's VJ. That's Penrose down there. And we are covering a documentary called Disgraced. If you guys have the Showtime. Yes, I thought it was on Hulu, but it is on Hulu if you have the Showtime extension. If you don't, if you have Showtime, you can watch it there. And if you don't, then
Prime Video
that's what
too.
we're here for.
Prime Video with the Showtime extension as well. Because that's where I had
any
to watch.
place you have the Showtime
extension. Right. So anywhere you exactly, because that's
if you're like me, I did the trial, watched the documentary, and canceled. There you go.
Boom.
Come on. And then you need some more email address. Like, is it email addresses or is it like
are they getting like sophisticated? Hulu, so yeah, but I would just make I would make a Hulu account and then add the Showtime and watch whatever the fuck it was and cancel again.
Yeah, that's why I'm gonna wait after we spin. I'm gonna wait after we spin and see if it's on Showtime, and if it's not, then I'm canceling tonight. That's what
I'm saying. I'm gonna just wait it out, and then if not, I'm gonna go ahead and watch it, and then I can cancel.
Yep, do my notes today.
I like how you guys think. That's very impressive.
We're thrifty.
Okay, so I love it.
Okay,
so
Disgrace.
All right, so what is this? I don't even know where to. I mean, I know where to start, but like, where the fuck do we start? Any first impressions or any like minor comments that you want to make before we like really jump into this? Like,
for anyone that is a sports fan, any nigga who follows sports for real remembers Patrick Dennehy. And so I want to point that out because that's who this is mainly about. And I remember when it first came on, I totally forgot everything that surrounded that. And I just remember being like, damn, that nigga was going to the NBA. What happened? You see what I'm saying? And so minor comment for me is that's what really drew me in, is seeing that nigga face and being like, yo, I remember this guy. What the fuck was really happening? So, you know. Because when we did it, I remember saying, like we talked before, like, yo, more people want us to do sports. And I was like, oh, okay, another sports one. Then I watched it and I was like, oh, no, not at all.
Yeah. First impressions, like I'm from Texas. I guess everybody knows that now. Yeah, I'm from Texas. I went to University of Texas at Austin. So we actually were in the Big 12 or in Big 12 play with Baylor, right? So when this happened, the summer of 2003, I was going into college, but I do remember because all of the stuff kind of took place going into that June, July leading up to it. So it was kind of big news in the conference and in the state as well, right? Because I mean, especially because he was like a top prospect, somebody like you said that was going to the NBA. So at first they kind of kept it quiet, and then it was kind of news in Waco. So I had friends that went to Baylor, and they were like, "Yeah, this basketball player is missing." And then once national media picked up on it, it was all anybody was talking about. Like it was the story in Texas. That's what everybody was talking about. And then I think it's interesting because a lot of I also do true crime. And a lot of people have covered the Patrick Dennehy murder like a lot, but not really the like stuff surrounding it, and especially the portion about Coach Bliss. Like I think that part gets left out of the narrative. It's super important to the narrative, but gets left out of it quite a bit.
Super important, right?
But gets left out. I mean, every podcast.
You want me to tell you why it's important to the narrative, y'all?
Why?
Because he has something to do with it.
Yeah, we gonna get there.
I think
we gonna get there.
I think he did, but he didn't. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we'll get there.
Okay, so this opened summer of 2003 in June, I believe.
Yep.
Beginning
of June.
Yes.
Yes. So this is beginning of June. So we are kind of talking a bit about Patrick Dennehy, who this is about, but we talk a little bit about David Bliss. So Coach Bliss, if you went to school in the Big 12, then you may remember him. Or if you are somebody that follows Texas basketball or basketball in general, then you know who David Bliss is, right? Like long storied history as an NCAA coach. He coached at, I believe, like Oklahoma. He was at SMU for a while.
Yep.
Then I think he was in
New Mexico.
Mexico.
Are fans of all Docked Up. You've heard us mention his name in SMU, so
right.
So he was there during the fucking
death sentence.
Death sentence, yeah. I was about to say the murder capital, but anyway, you said
So basically, David Bliss is a big basketball name, and so we'll talk later about how he gets from New Mexico to Baylor, but basically, he comes to Baylor, and Baylor, when I went to school in 2003, like people joked about, like the joke was like Baylor was the bastard stepchild of the Big 12 because they weren't good at anything. Mm-hmm. Like they were not good at basketball, they were not good at football. Nobody gave a fuck. And so when Coach Bliss comes and he's had such a good record, at the time he gets there, it's been 11 years since Baylor has had a postseason appearance. So they're expecting big things, right? And he brings recruits with him. And one of these recruits he brings from New Mexico is Patrick Dennehy. He also brings, what is his name? Ellis something.
Ellis Kidd.
Ellis Kidd. What is it?
Carlton Dodson.
Carlton Dodson. And then the other kid's name is the white guy, RT something.
RT Quinn.
Quinn. Okay, yeah, it's like because I remember I vaguely remember these people, but I'm just like, it's okay, yeah. So he brings like these people on.
RT Quinn sounds like a nigga that writes mystery novels.
Like he used to hang out with R.L. Stein or some shit.
Like they're co-writing like choose your own adventure novels,
right?
But they're like scary,
right?
Right. More Goosebumps.
Right, like Goosebumps Part 2 or some shit.
Like they be beefing on the low, like RL just a more appealing name, my nigga. I'm sorry, RT. Right. I love you, bro, but I gotta do me.
RL is just a household name. I'm sorry.
Unrelated, I know somebody whose first name is initials and they don't stand for anything.
Me too.
I feel like we've talked about this.
Yeah, I think we did too. And I was like, yeah, just unrelated. So I'm assuming that RL and RT actually stand for something. Not so much.
KC Jones from the Boston Celtics, the old school nigga. That KC don't mean a damn thing. AC Green,
nothing.
No way. AC don't stand for nothing.
Nope.
Get the fuck out of here. I never do that, guys.
It's funny. I have a friend named AC, but his is Arthur Charles.
See, not two of the oldest black names.
Which is why he doesn't let anybody call him neither one of them names. And now he's going bald and won't let his hair go. So like he definitely looks like a nigga named Arthur because like he's bald. Like he looks like an Arthur Charles now. He like an old nigga. Hair won't let go of that hair at all. So Bliss gets them to come here, and he does the thing that we pretend that other colleges don't do, but they all do. They were like, come here, we'll take care of you, we'll give you things. And they gave him things. One of these things includes a Chevy Tahoe.
Right. which right. You know, because we get deeper into things, but when they talked about the Chevy Tahoe, I was like, in the essence of the things we've covered and just knowing basketball, I mean, you know, collegiate athletics, I was like, oh, that's normal. You know what I'm saying? Like, cool.
Yeah, like everybody else. I thought about it. Like when we talk about it later in the sanctions and the violations, like I just wrote in the notes, he got him a Chevy Tahoe. Like not exclamation, not question mark. Like why did the coach buy him a Tahoe? Like it's so normal that I was just like, he bought him a Tahoe. Not he gave him the money, like he just gave his nigga a Tahoe.
Yeah, like he gave him a Tahoe.
So I guess we talked about Carlton a bit now. Carlton's from Hurlock, Maryland. Don't know where the fuck that is. They tell us
town right down the street from where I'm at.
They explain it. Sound like Hicksville to me. Sound like the type of place you leave as soon as you're old enough, because the only job is at the steel mill. Yeah. So sounds very much like where I went to school. So I'll give him that. Carlton and Patrick become fast friends. They apparently live in 4-person student housing. They're roommates. They're very cool. Whatever. We start getting interviews with different people. I think we get an interview with his sister, Wynn, Patrick's sister, the mom, the dad, and then his white best friend and the girlfriend. The girlfriend, Jessica, and then I think the friend's name is it David, maybe?
I think so. That's the only person's name I didn't get. I ain't gonna lie. What up, Jay?
I wrote it down somewhere. I just don't remember where I wrote it, but I know he went. Yeah. So he goes. So yeah. So we meet like all of their friends. So this is kind of where this jumps off, right? So in case you hadn't noticed, Patrick's missing.
It doesn't talk about the missing part right off top, because times
we get the interview with the white friend, right? And he's saying that Patrick called him frantic.
But this was the first thing we found out, though, because remember, we the whole story about bringing Bliss in was elevating that team, and the last person they brought in was the Harvey Thomas kid. So they bring in Harvey Thomas, and like you said, it was supposed to be 4 people to this 2-bedroom apartment, but it was only 3 people in there. It was Patrick, Carlton, and they had the white roommate. And so they had Harvey sleep at their house. And in turn, Harvey calls his cousin, Larry Johnson, who lives in that area, and he comes to stay with them. Which, from a collegiate standpoint, the coaches knew I was a little weirded out about that. I'm like, why was this nigga allowed to be there that much?
Who's about Larry? Larry just like came in, he just gave this nigga a t-shirt.
Well, I thought that was very weird. They Patrick gets Harvey off Harvey's the last piece. Patrick gets Harvey off the plane. He's his chaperone. Coach Bliss is like, just stay at Patrick's house until we get you in student housing, which also, in retrospect, weird.
Yeah. Once you really see everything.
Because the thing about it is that, go ahead.
I was going to say, before we move on, just because I want to get this tidbit out of the way, this is what I was saying on a group message earlier. This is the first documentary where we've watched where one of us knows somebody personally. I know Harvey Thomas. We did not like it. He went to high school down the street from me. We didn't like each other for whatever. He didn't like me. And so I'm a Midwest nigga.
Harvey don't look like he like nobody, so I'm gonna be
his
girlfriend.
Like
Harvey looked like a fucking hater, and
his girlfriend was our girlfriend, and we'll move on. Shout out to Harvey Thomas. Hey, you don't like me.
And I can see why, because his earrings were ugly and his shirt was inside out. And I was like, wow, this is, and you on camera, you couldn't run no comb through your hair or nothing.
His shirt, okay, so I wasn't fucking crazy. But I think what
it is that maybe he had a brand. He might have had like a big ass brand or something on the shirt, and they didn't want to put it in there. And I'm just like, well, why did they blur it out? Like, it was so weird. Like, whatever.
The bacon neck. It looked like he washed that t-shirt one too many times, and it just didn't come back.
Blur shit out.
It was a lot. I was like, whatever. So Larry, he calls Larry and is like, I'm sleeping on these people's couch. Get on the Greyhound bus and come.
Right.
Okay. Whatever.
I didn't understand that part whatsoever. It was
barely
weird,
had to spot
and it escalated weirdly.
Like, yeah, it was like that. They're sleeping on somebody's couch. Why wouldn't you wait until you got moved into your own stuff and then tell your cousin to come if he has to come?
Right.
Maybe the cousin was homeless. Like, I wasn't quite following what was going on. So I'm
he was homeless at that point. Like,
because we don't hear nothing from his parents, so I don't know. Maybe he just was immaculately conceived in the air. I don't know. I don't know. It was a lot going on with him. I couldn't get with it. I think that he was lying about it, but like, you just like, he seems like somebody is a pathological liar. Like, you sitting up here smiling saying you didn't do things, and like you're gaslighting the fuck out of me because I know you did. Like, I don't know you personally, but whatever the fuck they said you did, you probably did.
I gotta be honest. On the first watch, I just immediately, I dismissed him like immediately. I was just like, well, like, because I hear what everybody's saying, and I've come to that conclusion mostly as well. But we have to remember, like, and we'll talk about it. But the time frame, like, they barely knew this dude. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like, and that's the thing. I don't think he killed Patrick. I don't think he had anything to do with that. I think that he's lying about the part where they got into an altercation, because you don't have to know anybody very long to get into an altercation. That part he's lying about.
That is very true.
That part he's lying about. The rest of it, he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. He just also didn't want to get kicked off. He didn't want to get kicked off the fucking team and him and Larry have to go home on the Greyhound bus. That's why he lied.
I was telling Chris too before the show, the area that he's from out here, it's the black area. And back in those days when this wasn't nothing but sticks, before it was city like, their view of what black life was is what you saw on BET. So a lot of those kids in that area were hard for no reason. They weren't, you know what I mean? It was a lot of persona. So in the sense of them saying that, like, yo, because again, I do know this dude, but I don't know him personally like that. So this is not me assassinating his character. But in the sense of the area he's from and being from the hood and then coming here and being like, yo, you niggas ain't hood at all. But they tried so hard. When they told the story of, yeah, them niggas threatened us and pulled guns on us and all of that, that part, like you said, that part I 100% believe. Real shit. Everything else, I don't know. But that part, because the kids
like
from this area back in those days,
some niggas that would be in the house when some money come missing. Like,
exactly. Like that part is believable.
It is.
So Patrick calls the white friend David or Daniel, I think. But he calls them and he's like frantic, like freaking out, saying that they're being like threatened, and he was super concerned, and that Carlton was, and he had to have Carlton's back, and whatever. And so the white friend, being the reasonable, rational person he is, he was like, well, go to the coaches if somebody on the team is threatening you.
So before we get a little bit further, I just want, we mentioned David Bliss, but I also just want to mention Abar. Is it Rouse?
Abar Rouse? Yeah.
Rouse, yes, Abar
Rouse. Okay, so Abar Rouse, he, remember the time frame right now is like May, June 2003. He gets hired on June 1st, 2003. Okay, to me that's super important because of when we find out some stuff that niggas are saying and all this other stuff.
Now, mind you, like Chris said,
which is why we're gonna find out these lies didn't work. The timeline is very important as to why these lies didn't work.
Because now we'll get in. My bad. Go ahead. My bad.
I was gonna say the only reason I brought up Abar right now is because after having that conversation with his white homeboy, he went and told Abar about the threats.
Right.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
The only thing I was gonna say is, because we're definitely gonna get into it for all of y'all that's watching or will watch. You're gonna hear us talk because we talk a lot, but literally, like she said, Abar got hired on the first. The first incident that started any of this happened on June 6th, and the major incident was June 12th. So in a 13 but technically 7-day period, all of the shit y'all about to hear happened.
Right. Like, it seems like it's like this whole thing spans out over a very long time, and that is not the case.
At all.
So basically, I think
waiting for the trial was longer than the course of everything that happened. Like, way longer.
June 10th, I think, is the day that he actually 9th. The 9th is the day. So basically, to just make a very summarize so we're all on the same page. Abar Rouse was hired on the 1st. These kids have not played basketball because this is the summer before the season has started. So they're on campus, but they're basically like working out, doing some practicing, but school's not officially started. So they're just kind of moved into campus. Some of them are probably not even there. If they are there, they're going home on the weekends because it's June. Like, there's not a lot going on. They're on campus, but there's not a whole lot going on. So the 6th is when allegedly Harvey and Larry threatened Carlton and Patrick with guns. So that's 5 days after Coach Rouse gets hired. The 7th, they go get guns.
Yes, Patrick and Carlton.
I just want to ask you something. I don't know if we said this or not. VJ's talking about a basketball team, like she said. Some people are there, some people are not. The people we are focusing on, Patrick Dennehy is a transfer from New Mexico.
That Coach Bliss brought with him from New Mexico.
Right. Harvey went to Georgetown and didn't work out. He ended up in another JUCO. It didn't work out, and then he ended up there. And Carlton is a freshman coming in straight out of high school after just winning the state championship. These people have literally known each other maybe a span of 4 or 5 days. Everybody that's involved.
And Patrick, and from the way it sounds, Patrick and Carlton have probably been on campus since maybe May. They might have been there about a month because they pick Harvey. Patrick picks Harvey up from the airport. So they might have been there 3 weeks longer than he was, which is why they were like cool. Right. Like they might have been there 3 or 4 weeks longer. Who knows? So they go get these guns and they decide we have to start shooting these guns. So they go on these excursions into like the middle of nowhere, which is very easy to do in Waco. And they're just like shooting the guns off, practicing because something's after them or Harvey's going to kill them or whatever they believe. So then on the 9th, after they've gotten these guns, they decide that they should tell somebody about the threats because they are super paranoid. So this is when they tell Coach Abar. And I guess this is also told to Coach Bliss, is my understanding of it as well. Now he will fluctuate.
Is it his understanding of it though?
He's gonna fluctuate throughout the rest of this to the point of you wanting to scream at him about whether or not he knew or didn't know, but the timeline is on the 9th or 10th. He knew. Now, whether or not he agrees with that, we'll get into. So basically, if you've played sports in a collegiate level, if you've done anything where you are in that type of environment, you know that if something goes on team-wise, they want to take care of it within the team, right? Like they don't want it to become a scandal. They don't want it to be like basically anything they can do that's going to keep it quiet so that you don't get in trouble with the university and they have to like bench you or kick you off the team or pull your scholarship. They're going to do whatever it takes to keep shit under wraps. So they're basically like, oh, Harvey threatened you with a gun. Let's all talk about it. And let's all sign, conduct pledges and say that we're going to love each other because this is a team, threats and guns aside, let's just pretend it never happened. Shake hands, guys.
Right. And the crazy part now, a point I want to bring up, Harvey's coming from another JUCO. Your cousin's coming down. We weren't there. Again, I want to assassinate a man's character. But in the sense of being threatened with a gun, Larry is the one nigga who has nothing to do with the school.
And nothing to lose.
He could have came down with a gun, not with the intention.
He rode the Greyhound bus. That is not the pinnacle of security.
At all. Niggas, I've been stolen by Greyhound people on the Greyhound bus. So yeah, they don't give a shit.
You could probably get a fucking projectile and
what the fuck did you just say?
What, that I got stolen from by Greyhound?
What the fuck does that mean?
That my bags were on a Greyhound bus. I ended up pretty much they put my bags on the wrong bus, and when I got them, all of my shit was missing. That was important.
Oh, nigga, I don't know why the way I was hearing it, it made me seem like they stole you, nigga. And I was like, what?
Like they kidnapped him off the bus, right? Like
yes.
And I was like,
I was like, damn, Penrose, like, how are you here today? Like, what is happening?
I've been through a lot of like.
Are you a nigga named fucking Arnold Charles somewhere? Like, what's your real name?
Is your real name Penrose? We don't really know this nigga, right? We don't really know this nigga. Fuck around tomorrow and get on the news and be like, have you seen this man? He's been missing.
He's been missing for 25 years.
Right. Last seen on a Greyhound without his bags. I really did. I was like, what is happening?
It was give and taken. I was finna call it.
It was very much given.
It was give and taken.
Last words we heard was Detroit what? Right.
So June 12th, Patrick goes missing. Around or about, right?
Around or about, because June 13th is the day that A-Bar noticed that he wasn't in class, right?
In class, right.
Right. So that would have made that
it was also the same weekend of Father's Day or something, and he didn't call his white daddy, and he always called his white daddy.
Yeah. His stepdad said he didn't call him, so he was concerned. He said even if he didn't call, a car would have got to the house by the date, even if he wasn't going to call that weekend. And no car.
Which does give you some insight that he was probably very upset and like whatever was happening in their situation, like he was very upset about it because the car would have still got there even if he disappeared on the 12th, right?
So they knew. So then they could tell something, and that's how they knew something was seriously wrong, right? Because he didn't see a car, which meant he was distracted and not really focused, and then he didn't call. And so they have not heard from him. So keep in mind, so when he's not in class that Friday, A-Bar Rouse, basically his job is kind of like to be the liaison with like the players and the university and to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. So
he's just an assistant coach.
Essentially, yes. And so he would go and like go to their classes and make sure they were in class. So Friday he goes, Patrick is not in class. So he's just like, that's odd. But he's thinking maybe he took off. It is Father's Day weekend. Maybe he's just got a head start to go home, visit his family. Doesn't think a whole lot of it. So then when nobody was from the weekend,
let's also remember that Chris. Let's also remember that Chris gave Patrick and Chris, his best friend, they had talked on the phone, and Chris was expecting Patrick to come there.
That too,
because that also was simultaneous. What's his name? I thought his name was Daniel or David. It's Chris.
Chris.
Is that what you got?
No. Chris is sorry. Chris is the Yankovic nigga. That's the roommate. My bad. You're right.
That's Carlton. Oh, you talking about the white
man? Wait, no. She's talking about the white roommate. The white roommate is
the white man. There's the best friend, and then there's the
the white roommate.
That's the Weird Al Yankovic. That's Chris.
Yes.
Yeah, Weird Al Yankovic is Chris.
Okay.
David Daniel is the friend, right? And so basically, he says that he calls about this time, and he's telling Patrick, "Well, if shit's that bad, like, why don't you leave? If the people are threatening you, let's just get out of that situation." Pack a bag, get in your car, come down, hang out. It's my birthday. We'll just do that whole thing, and then you can figure it out and go back to school.
He told when he talked to Patrick, he said Carlton was in the background, and Patrick and Carlton were going to come. When A-Bar didn't see Patrick in class, he dismissed it, and later they say that Carlton had went back home, and since they were such close friends that nobody thought of it, maybe he just went out of town with Carlton.
Which is what they were doing, was the plan, right? So David Daniels.
That was the plan. They were going to go to Daniels.
David Daniels was like, I'm waiting on them to come. You know, he's thinking they're on the road. They don't ever show. And so they start calling around, and they're just like, Carlton, have you seen Patrick? And then Carlton is like, I'm in Maryland. I don't know. I hadn't seen him since Thursday, I guess. You know,
shit was getting real. Basically, he sounded like Simon from Tender Swindler.
It was very like I had to go, my enemies.
And for all of y'all that's watching, it was weird. It was weird for them to hear Carlton talk like this because, like they said, or like we all said, the way that this documentary is delivered, from the time Patrick and Carlton met, they were like this.
They were, you know what I'm saying? So it didn't make any
sense. So for Carlton to not know, yeah, exactly. So that was weird for the coaches and everybody involved.
Well, it was weird that he just up and went to Maryland and just didn't tell anybody, because keep in mind, like, they were like, maybe he just left. And like, I mean, again, it's the summer, so they aren't like on, you know, they aren't practicing every day. So it's not like they were missing anything, but it was just like their job is to keep track of them. And they were just kind of like, well, this is odd because one is missing. And then the one he's normally with just up and went to Maryland and didn't tell anybody.
Right.
So, but you know, but they were like, hell, okay, maybe they just went to different places, whatever. So
Jessica calls. Oh, sorry, she's the one who called That's what we found out that he was in Maryland first. And then Patrick's dad calls Dave Bliss, and Dave is basically like, oh, he cool. He around here somewhere. He's probably with his friends or some shit. Like, right. I didn't like how dismissive that was. And that's why I don't really trust that nigga. And that's why I'm about to change and that's the thing, right? To this.
Yeah, it's just odd. Like these are somebody's kids, right? And so they've entrusted their children to you, and most coaches take that responsibility very seriously, which is why Avon Rouse was fucking going around to classes to make sure these motherfuckers were there.
Yeah, so and regardless of anybody else, Denny, he was the dude that was gonna change the face of Baylor. So for you to just be like, oh yeah, you know,
how do you not know where the fuck he at?
Right, this is
and you brought him. Let us not forget that he followed you from New Mexico.
Right, like you talked, like he went and sat in these people, and that's the thing. He went and sat in these people's living room and was like, I'm gonna take Patrick with me to Waco. He's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. He's gonna be on a full scholarship. He's gonna have everything he needs. He's not gonna have to worry about anything. I promise you, I'm gonna take care of him. So after you done said that to somebody's motherfucking parents, it's real wild for you to not know where the fuck their kid is.
Because for all of y'all who may not know, yes, this was better looking for Denny He going to the NBA, but he was already looked at as going to the NBA while being at New Mexico. He didn't necessarily have to go to Baylor for his dream to happen. So
right, but like they were saying in New Mexico,
he went to Baylor because old boy asked him to go to Baylor.
We told him he'd be on a full scholarship and he wouldn't have to worry about rent and food and shit.
Exactly, because his parents were still paying. Between him and his parents, they was paying for New Mexico. So yeah.
So they didn't have to pay for anything. So somewhere in the middle of this, Harvey is telling the coaches, because Harvey says that Bliss and Belcher both asked him if he threatened Carlton and Patrick with a gun. He says, nope, didn't happen. Don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So at that point, they're just like, well, whatever. Nobody's here to refute it. So whatever. So Patrick is missing. Nobody knows where Patrick is. At this point, they file a missing persons report because they're just like,
yeah, because his stepdad is like, what the fuck? Like, and he calls the fucking cops. Like honestly, like the fucking coaches should have. Honestly.
Right.
Because in my mind, like, and maybe that's, again, it's the true crime. I mean, police have this very bad habit of saying things like, well, adults can go missing if they want to.
True.
So even if they do that thing where they say adults can go missing if they want to. If you're over 18 and you go missing, it is very much a crapshoot about what the fuck is going to happen, because either the cops are going to take your the people that are reporting you missing seriously about the fact that you are not that kind of person, or they're just going to be like, seems like she's a little flighty. Don't know. Maybe she'll be back. Maybe she just doesn't want to talk to y'all. Who knows?
I don't. And you're absolutely right. They do have a terrible record of doing that. But also, that's your fucking investment, white man. You don't want to tell nobody, but that's your fucking investment, and it's just
and you would think he'd been the first one lined up at the goddamn police station to have him found, because even if he's just somewhere drunk out of his mind or black, maybe he was like, fuck it, I want to get drunk and have 6 sex workers over, and I'm gonna just have a fucking weekend bender and nobody's gonna know. Even if the police find him and that's what he's doing, it's fucking Baylor. They're not gonna create a scandal for you. They'd have been like, hey, Coach Bliss, I got Patrick Denny here. You need to come pick him up. He's drunk out of his mind.
Please hurry up and come get him. I don't want to have to take him in.
And I'm telling you,
where can I bring him somewhere? Looking at.
Do you want me to drop him off? Where do you want to meet me so we can make this discreet? Because they're not going to do anything to ruin their fucking cash cow. With somebody who has been partying with some very prominent football players and seen them do some shit they had no business, and knew that Mac Brown was bailing people out of jail, picking them up from behind the jail.
Dog.
That's all I'm gonna say. All I'm gonna say on that. But just know that if they're the ones that are putting the team on the map, it doesn't matter what they do. Somebody's coming to pick the motherfuckers up. They aren't going to jail unless they fuck it.
Unless they literally have they have no other motherfucking choice.
Like, unless he punched the cops that showed up to like tell him to take his drunk ass home, nobody's gonna do anything but call the coach and be like, you need to come get him.
Exactly.
So the fact that he was just kind of like, I don't know, fuck it, like that's wild.
Yes, very much so.
So the 26th.
So
what is the police officer?
Oh wait. The 23rd. What happens on the 23rd? I wrote that down.
The June 23rd. Bliss. So this is in my notes. On June 23rd, Bliss says he was never told about Denny Heat being threatened, which I think is bullshit because, like you just said, Harvey said that he was. Patrick's car is found in Virginia.
That's the 26th.
No, not yet. No, not yet. That's the 26th.
Oh, okay.
Okay, hold on. Let me see.
I don't know why I had all that under the
I've got.
They reported him
we already discussed that. Okay, there we go. The 23rd.
So
boom.
Let's backtrack a bit. So the step, like we're talking about, that nobody knows where he is, right? And so the friend, down ass nigga, down ass white man, fucking David Daniel,
the Braden to his Tyree.
I'm gonna drive down here. Like, don't nobody know where this motherfucker is. That's not cool. I'm gonna go ride and see where the fuck my friend is. Drives to fucking Waco.
He never
like
came
this
to me.
Another white man.
Exactly.
And was like, never been here before. We finna go to Baylor. Get in the car.
All right.
Excuse me. Can you please let me into my black friend's apartment?
Right. I was about to say,
fucking flash that white privilege on their asses.
White like, that's what I was about to say.
Manager,
I couldn't listen. If one of y'all went missing right now, I couldn't.
I can't find my black friend.
Open her door. Right. Open her door. Niggas gonna be like, who the fuck are you? That white boy was like, hey, open this door. I'm going in now.
And then
he wouldn't do anything like that. They let him right in the fucking door.
Let him right. He's a great guy.
Right.
Great guy. Patrick would never go missing and not tell his mom and dad where he is. Fuck that. No. Patrick would call me if he was missing on purpose. Would call me first. No. Goes in there. He notices the dogs have not been fed. Notices that there's a half-packed bag on the bed. So he's like, I assume they were coming to see me, right? And they just never made it. So he feeds the dogs, leaves a note, takes the dogs with him, and he was like, nah, y'all need to go ahead and report him missing. So on the 23rd, he's officially reported missing. Keep in mind, nobody has seen Patrick since the 12th.
Right.
So 26th, they find Patrick's truck 1,000 miles away in Virginia with no plates.
Which, for all of y'all who don't know,
the car was
Virginia's really close to Maryland.
Yeah, they take the car. They realize it's wiped down. It's not a print in there.
Yes.
Which at that point, they should have been like, no, Patrick's. Yeah. And at that point, I think I'd have been like, Patrick's probably dead because Patrick's dead, obviously. But when you
now also by the 26th, the parents and the best friend have already been on TV asking for help, and then that also kind of like ramps it up, right? Because other than this, Baylor would have like really never said nothing.
No. Yeah, I really don't
never
think
said a damn thing
until they absolutely had to. They were just kind of like whatever, and that like really it would. I think that if nobody had tried to like report him missing or do anything like that, I think that it would have been a situation where they would have started practicing. He wouldn't have shown up. And then they would have been like, oh, fuck. Maybe he just decided, like, you know how you no call, no show a job that you have no plan on going back to?
Yep.
Like they would have treated it like that. We don't know where the fuck Carl. We don't know where the fuck Patrick is. He quit the team. Like I guarantee
now, mind you,
they would have just said he quit the team. We don't know where he is. That's exactly what they would have done.
Now, mind you, for y'all that's been listening so far, you don't take that type of approach with a nigga that's on full fucking scholarship because you want to know where your money's going to.
Oh well, there's a problem there.
Remember that.
Remember that.
There's a problem there, and we'll get to that.
So yeah, so the police are there with the truck, and they're like, shit, that's awfully close to Carlton. And since we up here, let's interview Carlton. So they mosey on over to So they mosey on over to Maryland, and they're like, "Yo, we're gonna talk to Carlton." And Carlton has many things to say. None of them involve what the fuck him and Patrick were up to on the 11th and the 12th. But everything to do with Coach Abar and how he had the players selling drugs for him.
Coach Abar was pushing weight through Ellis Kidd. He was pushing weight through RT Quinn, I think.
Basically, all of the new kids were selling drugs for Coach Abar. Everybody that got there on June 1st was selling drugs. They were
in 26 days. In 26 days, he became James St. Patrick, is what he's trying to tell y'all.
This nigga went from a graduate of Baylor to landing his dream job to meeting a bunch of grown men he's never met before.
A bunch of 19-year-olds
sell cocaine.
Forming one of the biggest drug syndicates that Baylor has ever seen in a matter of like 13 or 14 days. This nigga's amazing.
Listen, that's why this is ridiculous. Like when we think about Abar in regards to like how he just got thrown in there. No, not just this, but like the way that he just got thrown in there. Like he literally is like super new to the job. Like he's like that nigga standing in front of that fucking electric board, not knowing what to do. Like that's him right now. Yep. Like he's literally
that nigga's like.
Now, he's literally him right now.
He's like got hands on his hips, rubbing his head like, God, do anybody? Where's the basketballs? Where do y'all keep them?
I've not seen a basketball since I got here.
You know when you go to a meeting and don't nobody shake that one nigga hand because you think he in there to drop something off, and at the end of the meeting you find out he on the team. That was that nigga. Like he was just there. Like,
but apparently through all of this man was also forcing these grown ass niggas to sell drugs.
All the drugs, like not weed, coke, like hard drugs.
Mushrooms,
but
coke.
then
see, here's the thing for me is that did we call you here for this, or are we about where the fuck your friend?
Right, he doesn't want to talk about Patrick, but he has everything else to talk about, and so. Basically, the cop is like, well, he did that thing that, guilty people do, where he said Patrick was this, and this, instead of Patrick is.
Right.
So I will preference this by saying that I am one of those people that is of the mindset that the police can get tunnel vision. Well, they get tunnel vision sometimes, right? And so they do that thing where if you say was or is, or if they feel like you're sweaty or they feel like you're not reacting the way you should, then all of a sudden you're guilty. When some people just are in shock or concerned or
they
whatever
else.
Nobody or just sweaty because he's fucking a poor kid from Maryland who's fucking 19 years old and you got him in the police station talking about he murdered somebody, because I'd have been sweating looking crazy too. And to be real motherfucking honest with you, if one of y'all fucking was missing and then the white man done white privilege into your apartment, your dogs are unfed, your bed is half made, all your shit is there, and your suitcase is half packed. We done found your fucking car right down 1,000 miles from where the fuck you live, and ain't nobody, it's no cell phone activity, it's no fucking money being moved from the ATM. I'd have been saying was too because you're motherfucking dead. Like, what? I was just sitting there like, well, that's not indicative of anything. Like, knowing the facts, like if you were missing for 2 motherfucking weeks and nobody you knew heard from you, and we found your car with the plates missing and white plates, you're dead.
Look, nigga would have been like,
you're dead, or you are a new person in Quebec. Like, what the fuck?
Even talking like you're dead,
right?
Dead,
I'll never see you again.
Be like, hey, I dropped some shit in a group chat 2 days ago and they ain't respond, nigga. They're gone. Please let me know. Okay. The group chat ain't popped in 2 days. They are dead.
I know.
I'm just saying, all the shit considered together, like that's wild to them to be like, oh, he said was. I don't know. I watch a lot of ID, and I would just be like, they're dead. I have a feeling. If you find them, I will be overjoyed. But I'm telling you right now, I just don't fucking think so. Like, So the police probably don't need to ask
he
me
also
because
did
I would
like
be
a
in
lot
jail.
of mumbling when the police left the room.
He was talking to himself a lot, but then I felt like he was also answering himself, and that should have been their goddamn sign right there. Because he was
Something's
yeah,
not right.
Something's off with that one, and they should have figured that out immediately. And so then I guess he was like tired. He was like, "Look, I've told you all about the drugs, but not about Patrick, and I would like to get a lawyer."
All right, I'm out.
So the guy drops him
head
off.
out if y'all can take me back to where y'all brought me.
Right.
Oh, tell the spooky God story.
Right. The white cop, which his name is Bob Fuller.
That's what I'm saying, Fuller,
detective. Yeah. And he drops him off, and he's like, the whole time we're riding, I just keep hearing this song my grandmother used to sing to me. And he starts singing this song, and he says they get out the car, and he goes to shake Carlton's hand, and he goes back while they're talking and showing the not replay, but
reenactment.
I can't think. Yeah, reenactment. And he says that again, the was versus is thing, and he shakes Patrick's hand, and he goes, "God's gonna get you for that." And all of a sudden, Carlton snatches his hand away and has this weird look, and his eyes get big as if like, oh shit, he knows that, you know what I'm saying?
He got me
and
figured it out.
Right. He's like, he never looked back at me on his way into the
house.
He
was like, no matter what the county does, no matter what the FBI does, just know the God's gonna get you. Like, okay, bro.
Right.
They're very Jesus-y. They were very Jesus-y, but it's Texas, so that fit.
It fits. Right.
I get it.
I was like, sounds that
I never even heard that song before. So
it's very Episcopalian of all of them, and I was like, yeah, okay. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, it makes God sound scary. I don't like that really. Like
it's very much like Southern Baptist, like Protestant ass, like God is punishing you, your life is suffering ass shit. Like it, they be on some wild shit.
Right.
Like Dom say about that.
God bless
them. They on some other shit. July 2nd, 2003. Patrick's been gone like a shit ton of days, almost a month at this point.
Right.
For so many days.
So many motherfucking days. So this is when Detective Fuller's like, maybe we'll check into that drug angle. So they have Abar Rouse in there. And so I guess called Coach Bliss and was like, can you get your boy to come talk to us? And so Bliss goes by his office and is like, the police want to talk to you. It's probably nothing, but you know, they're gonna talk to you. And Abar is like, he asked if he needs a lawyer. And Coach Bliss is like, well, not if you didn't do anything wrong.
Right. Well, you making what? This is a murder investigation. What are you talking about?
Well, PSA.
What the fuck? Like?
PSA. If you are ever interrogated by the police for anything, really, you should get a lawyer, because if the police's children or family members were involved in something and were being questioned, they would tell their own family members to not talk to the police and to get a lawyer. Yep. So that bullshit they like to feed you about, well, if you didn't do anything wrong, you should want to talk to us. It's just that bullshit, because they want you to help them improve their 5% murder clearance rate.
Yep.
5. They don't. So they just want you to help them do the
more you know, niggas.
They just want you to help them do the job. You absolutely.
If you watch All Docked Up, or the Murder V Pod at any given time in your life, you should know that we've covered enough shit. That the police will mentally fuck you if you don't have a lawyer.
Shut the fuck up.
Right. They will. I will. I don't care what. I don't care if the motherfucker said you jaywalked. You get a lawyer and tell them you can speak to them about the jaywalking. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Because they will try to hold you like they tried to do this man.
Who the fuck is Jay? I don't even know a Jay.
And so then they were like, so this is like, how was I selling drugs when I have been here 12 days? The boy, like, he got hired on the 1st, Patrick was missing on the 12th. So you mean to tell me in the course of 7 business days that he has convinced all of these children to sell fucking drugs, and they are running the fucking Murder Inc. syndicate out of the goddamn Baylor Bears basketball locker room?
Yes. Yes.
Ridiculous.
So crazy.
So
yeah, wow. So he agreed. He doing some crazy ass shit his damn self because he agrees to take a polygraph test.
Right.
I ain't never heard of it. That was wild.
He ain't had shit to do with it. You know what I'm saying? And I think too.
No, he been in Waco too long for me because he's starting to get brainwashed.
That's how people approach those. Like they really approach those.
The police are not your motherfucking friend. We ain't
like,
taking no goddamn polygraphs. The first thing out of my mouth would have been my first thing out of my mouth would have been like, polygraphs are not admissible in court. So why do you have me taking one?
But I think his.
So why are we wasting our time and your resources? Why are we wasting
time? If you don't got no proof that I was selling drugs, get the fuck out of here. And that would have been that. Like they'd have been mad at me. They'd have been on a wild goose chase trying to prove I sold some drugs, and I don't give a fuck.
It was his dedication to Baylor, I feel like, because that's what they always focus on when it comes to him. And so I think that's what it was for him before he got deeper and just started doing what we'll talk about. I think that's what it was. Yep, I'm gonna take this polygraph. I'm dedicated to Baylor. This is a Baylor situation. A kid's missing. I really want to know what the fuck is going on. And I think even in the sense of him talking to coach and coach saying you don't need a lawyer, I honestly think as a grown man, he probably was like, I need a lawyer. But his loyalty to Baylor and not thinking that his head coach would be trying to get him in some fuck shit. He like, well, so.
Probably so. But
fuck that polygraph, fuck all of that. Yeah.
Get a lawyer. Right. Don't take no goddamn polygraph. Period. I don't care what the fuck happened. No. Unless it's your own child.
Baylor is. I don't know how big Baylor is in essence to all the schools that's in Texas, but I know it's big enough. So my nigga, you're at a school that if something goes down like this, they're giving you lawyers. The school has lawyers on retainer. So for you to be like, do I need a lawyer? No, nigga, where is the lawyer is the question. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
yeah,
what the fuck really going on?
Right.
Because if nothing else, if you want to go answer questions, still bring the lawyer with you. Like if you still want to answer the questions, fine. But bring the lawyer. Bring him with you.
Right.
Yeah. For sure.
So yeah, Abar, I guess there's a reporter that we talked to. There's one gentleman that's a reporter whose name I didn't get, and then the blonde lady who I am sure also went to Baylor because she was giving me big Southern bless your heart ass vibes. Well, nobody really ever reported on Baylor because, why were you sitting at those games? They really weren't good. They hadn't won a basketball game in God, I don't know how long it had been, but I just don't know why anybody would want to report on that. Like it was, she was just.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
That's your Susie Sprinkle voice.
Then they asked Abar
if
he had threatened Patrick or Carlson, right?
Yeah.
We heard about it, right? Yeah.
They did ask him that too, right? Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, they were like, did you threaten him? Did you do something to him? He passes the polygraph that he shouldn't have taken. And so they were just like, okay, cool, you can go. Because because I'm pretty sure Dave Fuller was like, I just don't know how you become a drug kingpin in 11 days. So this is probably a lot.
Because
that lie would have been enough for me to be like, let me just mosey on back to Maryland. We're gonna need to talk to him again because what the fuck? It's time to go on back because what are we even talking about here?
Because where did that come from? It had to have. I don't believe that shit came from Carlson. Like that came from somebody else. When
you look at how all this wraps up, and one of the things his mom says at the end, it does make you go back and look and be like, Carlton to me is the black kid when we did Screwball, and the black kid that robbed the car and he's the only one that went to jail. That's the equivalent of Carlton to me. You know what I'm saying? Like. Other people were involved. I don't know if somebody told you to pull that trigger or not, but for you to be a kid who pretty much made it out of a fucked up ass city, you just came off a state championship, you're going to Baylor, and now you're part of this team that's supposed to shock the fucking world. Your first time talking to the police about your mans that's missing is Coach Abar selling dope. Nah, nigga, no.
That doesn't
somebody
make
told
sense.
You to say that. At all.
For real.
Which is wild because he's the person that's making sure you're going to class and checking on you and all the other. He's the one facilitating the day-to-day shit. The one you should have a good relationship
so you
with.
good.
The one you throw under the bus and saying it's selling the drug. Like that's why.
It's giving Dave Bliss Productions.
They reported to A-Bar that the shit was happening before they went and talked to Bliss. So if you don't fuck with this nigga and you scared that he got other niggas doing fuck shit, why are you running to him? Why are you running to him to tell on the niggas that you saying he got selling dope? That don't make sense.
That's all I'm saying, yeah. It didn't make any sense. It was definitely, it was a Dave Bliss production executive producer Mona Scott. It was a lot.
It's giving fables.
Fables, stories, falsehoods, creative director, whatever you want to call it, was doing a lot.
There's a Medea extended version and shit. Like,
Carlton's in a wig, like
it's too much. It's too much.
So girlfriend Jessica decides
this is where the whole story fucking turns on its side.
Right, because girlfriend Jessica is like, they aren't really doing enough to find him. Like, it just doesn't seem like there's a sense of urgency here. Like, it's giving very much like Gacy in the 70s. All of these boys just ran away. Like,
you're so right. That is
everybody ran. 56 people ran away. Like that
just ran away.
20 some of these people that you coach on your little league team that come to your house and eat pizza ran away. You don't know nothing.
Just ran away. Just skip town. I don't know what happened. Everyone's gone. I only have one person. It's
they just so happen to run away.
Bandana and stick it up there, nigga.
They just so happen to run away after pizza parties at your house. All these niggas ran away.
That was the last activity he had before he was like, I'm up out of here. Yeah.
I'm about this bitch.
His house good at Underground Railroad for children, man.
Right. A shitty pizza party at JC's house was enough. I'm out. I can't do this no more. Like,
this town will never see me again.
I wanted pineapple. This nigga gave me pineapple.
I gotta go. I'm leaving it all behind. Go to find better pizza. I can't out there.
Right in church the very next Sunday, like I don't know what happened.
Coast to coast search, more pizza.
Right.
Oh my god.
We made fun of some of the most fucked up shit.
Well, I'm just saying because that's wild. They're just like. Jessica's like he's been gone for 20,000 days, and they were like, "Girl, I don't know. Maybe he's just on vacation." I don't like. They really were just kind of like,
I'm surprised nobody called her like, "Girl, he cheating on you. He done ran off with another bitch."
Right? He's like, "Girl, we seen him."
Girl, maybe he's in Cancun. We don't know. I'm like, it just
spring break, girl, in the summertime.
That's what I kept thinking. I'm like, God damn.
But no, what her pushing the button was something smart because, as you were getting into, she said that if you report wrongdoing by the NCAA, the FBI has to get involved, and she felt like they weren't looking for a boyfriend enough, so she whistleblows and says, "Hey, Patrick was getting money for that Tahoe from Bliss, and Patrick's not on scholarship. Dave Bliss is paying his tuition, and all of a sudden, and this is what was kind of shitty for me. A black man is missing, and I won't even focus on black. We do because we're black, but a person is missing, and it's probably murdered, and nobody moves. But the minute we say, "Hey, somebody at your university was doing something against NCAA violation rules," all of a sudden the FBI came. What's going on? Come on. Well, I think nigga murdered, and y'all like, no.
Well, here's the thing. I think the FBI portion is because
he's
it's
giving out
Tahoes.
Well,
it's possible mail fraud and money laundering. So I think the FBI have to get involved because they don't know the scope. And if the scope is something smaller, I think they back off.
Right.
Okay.
Is generally how that works. But I mean, in this case, it was just very weird. They had to stay on because somebody was also murdered. Like, I think they were like, somebody's also missing. So this is we probably need to
we should probably stay here.
We should probably stick around and see this one through because this seems
Is there a Quality Inn down the street anywhere? Because that's what we're gonna set up.
We're gonna have to hang out. Yeah. So so they find out Patrick's not on scholarship, and then the stepdad is like, yeah, we weren't paying his tuition. They told us he was on full scholarship. I don't know what the fuck is going on. So they try to be like,
no goddamn scholarship.
All right. He says the FBI called him and asked him that.
Yeah.
My thing too, though, is now don't get me wrong. I won't claim to know about college because I've never attended. But I'm willing to believe that just like I went in the military under the age of 18, so both my parents had to sign some papers. I'm willing to believe that when your kid gets a full fucking ride, you gotta say something or be acknowledged somehow in this situation.
You sign for like award money, and then the school, like the money gets sent to the school directly, right? So if you're on scholarship, any money that you get goes to the school. If it's an in-house scholarship, the school applies that money to tuition and room and board if those things are already not paid.
But do you have to sign do you sign yourself if you're an adult, or even with being an adult, you're still a college kid?
I don't remember my mom signing nothing.
You sign acceptance originally, right? Because I started school at 17. So any documents that needed to be signed regarding like legal stuff, then my mom still had to sign them. But like for scholarship, Pell Grant money, that type of shit, which is why like student loans are so predatory, because you can just kind of sign up for that shit and your parents can sign off and it's just kind of yours after that. Like they don't really come back after the next year and are like, hey, everything's still good here. So basically, once Bliss was like, yeah, he's on scholarship.
Right. Okay.
You know, like that was that. You know, he's got somewhere to live. Right. He probably has a meal card. And so basically he gets the funds, and then whatever they give them as far as stipends or anything like that is dispersed to him after the school has been paid out of the scholarship for room, board, and like tuition. So he just got whatever was left over. You don't sign anything, they just put it in your account.
Okay. Now that you've explained that, now I know
it makes more sense how they didn't realize.
Right, that he wasn't on there. But once we found out that she blew the whistle and told about the car and the fact that Bliss is paying his tuition yearly, I know some of these coaches get a lot of money, but nigga,
she didn't know that. She didn't know that he wasn't.
On scholarship, she just reported that they were getting like money, like he was just giving him like a living allowance,
right.
And that he had given him the Tahoe.
Right.
She didn't
and then
know that
because she did that, it exposed it.
Okay. Right, because they were like,
what I was
about
to ask,
FBI start calling around. Right.
Where are you getting this money from, though, Bliss? 40 racks a year for a nigga that ain't yours, and you ain't.
Nigga, you know where he getting this money from?
Come on, man.
Well, here's the thing,
nigga. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
At this point, they don't know where the money is coming from, right? Though, because they haven't asked Dave Bliss anything about the money.
Right.
They're just trying to figure out how his tuition is being paid because they discovered that he's not on scholarship. So now they're just kind of like, where is the money coming from? But they haven't figured it out yet.
Right.
I will point out that it is $40,000 a year to go to Baylor. In 2003, that probably made Baylor one of the most expensive universities in state for Texas, because if I want to say by close estimate, if I'm remembering correctly, I went to school on full scholarship. I feel like I was paying, they were paying roughly like $26 a year. 30. But I did go up after we won a national championship in 2005, but I want to say University of Texas was one of the more reasonably priced universities. Baylor is like a private university, so that, or not private, but somewhat private, more kind of exclusive, that education is very expensive. So $40,000 is on the higher end for Texas. Now it's not, but in 2003, $40,000 was probably one of the more expensive yearly tuitions. So he was paying a lot of money. $40,000 is quite a bit of change, because none of the other schools were probably half of that.
Wow. Okay.
So do we want to take this quick second, or I don't know, do we want to, well, I mean, we kind of did it earlier about the SMU thing and how Dave Bliss was also there during that time, just because like this kind of comes up because he's always around when money is funny. So I just want to say
right.
that,
right. No, I thought that was highly
interesting.
How it all looked, right? Because if y'all know about SMU or y'all watch us talk about it, Dave had nothing to do with the fucking football team. He started doing the same shit with the basketball team because he saw that the football team was getting away with it.
Football team was doing that shit.
Right.
So basically, so basically the football scandal happened. They ended up getting like the death knell. And so what people don't understand is that when the NCAA sanctions your school to that like effect, like it affects everybody. It's not like, oh, well, just these, like it's the entire school. Like it's not just that sport. So at that point, they're just like, to some extent, some of the sanctions are the school, some of the sanctions are just that particular team. So let me rephrase that. So basically, yeah, like you said, he was not paying anybody. When the whole thing happened and they were, they couldn't have any more scholarships, all that shit, they were like, how the fuck are we going to get people here?
Right.
And so that's when Dave Bliss was like, fuck it, I'm going to start paying them too.
Let's get it.
He was like, you know what? They over there trying to figure that shit out with football. Nobody will even notice me paying these kids. Like, let's get it.
But wasn't Dave was the one that the whistleblower went to ask about why he wasn't getting paid, right?
So yeah, the center on the team was supposedly the highest recruited person on the team, and everybody else was bragging that they were getting paid, and he wasn't. And he says he goes to Dave and he's like, yo, get paid like everybody else, and he says a Mustang shows up. He gets in a fully furnished, nice apartment, and he started getting money stipends pretty much. So
yeah, so John Contact, John Contact is this white guy who basically went to SMU, got recruited to go to SMU, just the regular old way. Like he's a good basketball player. Here he is. Then he starts noticing that all these new recruits start popping up, people that probably had a chance to go to way better schools than SMU and somehow ended up there. And he was like, So that's when he was like, yeah, they started telling me that everybody else that was new was getting paid because they had signed, basically they signed contracts to go to school there. They got paid. John Contact was on scholarship and had just went there. And when he found out everybody else was getting paid, he wanted in. So, but what happens here is that the NCAA does look into these allegations, but they're like, what the fuck else can we do to these people?
Right.
Like, because they've already gotten the entire school is under sanctions. Like, there's literally no more that they can do to these people.
Right.
Except for tell them to disband their teams, and they don't have the authority to do that.
Right.
We can't tell you can't have a team. So basically, they're just like, well. So Dave Bliss is able to do that thing that hospitals do with negligent doctors. He is able to get another job and leave, and everyone just says, well, you're not making trouble for us anymore, so we'll write you a nice letter of recommendation. Godspeed.
Yeah, holla.
Fascinating how many doctors are able to do that to skirt malpractice allegations, but we'll get into that a different day.
I mean, yes. I just immediately thought about Dr. Death. I mean, not Dr. Death.
That's Christopher Dent. Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought about too. Like, they just gonna let him leave.
That nigga. Wow. You gonna let him work here?
They did. They were like, you have permanently crippled 7 people. But if you get a job somewhere else, we'll say that number is 0. And you could just
if you just get the fuck away from us.
That's like old boy, the one we did where old boy was at the high school, and remember the joke was pull your knickers down or whatever. Remember, he was molesting kids from school to school to school, and they were like, "Oh, we don't know what you're talking about." Holla, same shit.
If you leave here and stop touching these children, we won't stand in the way of you touching other children in a different school
other
district.
Children, other places.
Right. You just can't touch kids at our school.
Can't touch these kids, but we're not going to stand in the way of you touching them.
I can't stop you from touching other people.
Can't stop you.
We don't give a fuck about the children. We give a fuck about our children. So we're gonna need you to go over there.
Feel free to frolic and fondle. Like
we're gonna be at the pearly gates, and Jesus is gonna be like, "So that podcast y'all used to do, huh? Let's talk about it." I mean,
hear me out, bro. Hear me out.
Right.
Every said ever got like jokes on you because I really didn't think I'd be this far, but since we're here
to even get this interview, like
didn't even think that you were going to give me a call back. So let me take this opportunity to tell you some things.
Is that my brother? No, you know my brother.
My grandma here. Like.
Turn around and see the two of you. Oh shit. While we all here, we gonna all explain together. Because I feel like you're gonna ask me about some stuff we did together. So they gonna just
we'll be able to piggyback off of each other to like have
somebody get Paris and get him a ride to the front. Can you spot him up here? Spot him to the
front. Gonna wait. I'll just be up here waiting. I'm just gonna wait for them.
Can you imagine getting ready to go through the gates and somebody stopped you like, "Hey Chris, do you know a Penrose and VJ? They said that you might be involved in some shit." They was like, "God damn it, like no."
And like I can't like lie up here, right? Like
because I'm like, if you can lie, like you have my permission to lie. Like if
I am though, like I'm always her plus one. Like let me in there. Like
she's waiting. She said I could come.
She
got the invitation.
She said she would wait for me, and like here I am. So
she put that in her will and everything.
I'm here.
Yeah,
July 17th.
Get to the gates, let her in.
28 days missing.
I'll do good, I promise.
July 17th.
Okay, so look.
Carlton decides to make a statement to the FBI.
Right.
I would like to say, I don't know if we said this earlier. The first time Carlton talks to FBI, he requests this. This is now the second time that he's requested another interview with these niggas.
He didn't request the first
time.
No,
the first time he did.
No, the first time
you're right, because they were in the area.
He was just like, fuck it, I'll go with y'all. The second time he called them like, yo, come holler at me. I got some more to talk about.
So which one of you would like to tell us what Carlton had to tell the FBI? What was so urgent that Carlton needed to share?
It was given that little YMLE nigga. Like it's given like I have demons. I'm from a family of prophets. Like I've already been forgiven for the sins I may have committed. Like, okay, my nigga, like just get to it. Like just say what you did. Because like we're here now.
He's laughing and shit.
They said it took 45 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's giving me that YN whatever that nigga is that killed his friend. Like he's giving me creepy, like I'm insane and shit you could do about it vibes. Like,
right. And they finally, after about 45 minutes to an hour.
He said he was taken over by a higher power.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Said and
his family
out in the clearing.
Also said, yeah. Oh, wait, hold on. But wait, before we do that. So we're watching this like really weird interview or listening to this interview and he's like laughing and saying he's from a family of prophets, all this weird shit, saying demonic spirits are after him. And then his family, they cut to his family and his family's like, oh, also Carlton wasn't eating or sleeping. Like stuff like that. Right. Like, and also just saying that he was like getting increasingly stranger around them as well. And like,
reading again, Bible verses in every room.
This to me, sweeping and shit, because he's saying like heaven ain't dirty, I gotta keep the floor clean. But like, listen to what I'm telling y'all. Like, just rock with me for a second. Is it possible, because we don't have any reports before this situation that this happened, that Carlton was being this kind of person? Right. Is it possible that somebody slipped your boy some shit and like got him like really fucked up?
Very possible. Very possible. I mean, and that illness is a thing that can pop off at any time, even if you don't know you have it. Maybe it just clicks in. But again, in the time frame that we're talking, because now we're in July, but in the sense of when everything happened, and again, because
we're talking about like within 30 days, basically.
Right. Think about what they did the interview with his stepbrother. They were from a shitty town, but everybody that talked about this kid talked about him like he was a joy to be around. He was a good kid. Everybody loved him. No problems, no run-ins with the law. No shit about
the fact
guns,
that when Patrick and him first met, they immediately clicked. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's stuff like that that makes me feel like this weird turn, and like especially like it's super prevalent with this last FBI conversation that like something went wrong. Like something like I don't like something went wrong, bro. I don't know.
I have a theory, and so like maybe this is a little out there and weird. But like, I agree. I think that if you have mental illness, it presents itself. Most people that present mental illnesses later in life, it's because of some stressor, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Right.
So he's left home. He is dealing with having to live with people he's never met before. He's been threatened with a gun because I absolutely fucking believe that Harvey and Larry threatened them with the fucking gun and were terrorizing
a nigga named Harvey and his cousin named Larry Johnson. Like they absolutely carry rusty fucking guns around. Like, are you joking?
So don't look. Remember, what's her name told the white roommate Chris. Somebody comes to the door, don't open the door. He says he comes home one night and they're literally in the house with a rifle because they're scared. And he says another time he's at home alone and he goes to the peephole. Somebody knocks on the door. He can see it's a black guy and the guy is holding a pistol
where he can see it, like not to shoot him, but not
right. But just to be like, I keep that thing on me.
Right. And so who else would come to their door and do that except for somebody that had already threatened them with the gun?
Chris really did not want to say black. Like he didn't want to profile the person in the fucking window.
That nigga said it. It was a African American.
It was a 6'5" African American. Like, nigga, get it out.
Chris was just like a chill ass dude, just trying to get an education. They put him in his goddamn apartment with these niggas, and Chris was like, but they were cool. Like, Chris was probably, they probably smoked a little weed with Chris, played a few video games. Chris was like, video games aren't really my, my jam or whatever. Like, Chris was probably cool to the motherfucker, and they was like, we like that little white man.
Chris was that white boy that when you go off, and a white boy is thrown in the mix of a bunch of us, he assimilated. He ain't give him no issues. Like you said, he played the game. They probably smoked some weed. When he wanted to be left alone, he went to his room.
When he wanted to do his white boy shit, he went to do his white boy shit. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like Chris was probably like the best roommate. Like, he was probably chill as fuck, and he was like, yeah, they were nice.
Chris is what happens if the mad real world would have went right for that white boy. That would have been Chris.
He was mentally like chilled out. Instead, like he was being weird with Katie, and that's his own fault.
Exactly. Right.
Okay, but my nigga, they stabbed his dad.
Right, why you looking at him like that? Why
he was looking at him like that?
He's bleeding.
Chris didn't look at nobody like that. Chris didn't look at nobody like that.
Chris came in and sat down and ate his motherfucking food and spoke when spoke. As he speaks when spoken to. Chris was fine.
Chris grabbed the blunt like this, eyes forward. Just it's here. Oh, okay.
He really said to the left hand side.
That's over here.
Oh, so we're watching NBA again tonight. Oh, okay, guys. All right.
Okay.
I like LeBron.
Yeah. I used to watch Steve Kerr when I was growing up. Yeah.
Right.
I'm familiar.
I like it. Yeah. Who's that white guy? Yeah. I like. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't play that.
In my third grade game.
No, I played tennis in high school. But yeah, this is nice.
This is cool too.
It's sort of like tennis. It's back and forth. I get it. All right.
But that's what I'm saying. Anyway. Carlton's mental illness was exacerbated by the fact that he was under stress. And so, but I will say that I think that it also like made him increasingly paranoid.
Yes.
And so I think that maybe the shit with Harvey and Larry happened, but I don't know that like after like whatever, at some point the shit died down, right? Because we're talking about over like the span of a week, like a month, if that.
Right.
So you're saying like, so basically the situation escalated, like y'all are tripping the fuck out. And then I think he had like a mental break. I think he had a mental break. He started seeing shit. He started hallucinating. He started thinking that people were after him. Remember, he said he was like, the family said he was seeing witches and shit.
Like witches and angels and shit.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things
like on a broomstick, like
he told the high school coach when he picked him up that he saw him in heaven and he was going to heaven.
Yep.
Like he had
one thing I want to bring up, though.
Yeah, I don't ever want nobody to fucking tell me they saw me someplace I ain't been that nigga. Like,
never been
exactly.
Like,
but look though, the one thing I want to bring up again, being from the hood, we all from the Midwest. We done all lived amongst the blacks, as I like to call us. There's a difference between you getting into it and a nigga pulling a gun. Threatening you. A threat is a nigga just running up on you like, hey, black, da 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 da. Let's just say this nigga come down there with his cousin.
And then he put it away and he go back to business.
No, look, y'all two friends, these two niggas is cousins. Y'all get into it and Larry pull a gun on the nigga. Harvey, maybe he didn't know he had a gun, maybe he did. I don't think it was threat. I think they got into some type of argument and the nigga had the gun and to prove he was hard, he pulled the thing out. And then all of a sudden it became, oh shit. And I think, like you said, that triggered him and he went downhill.
Right, because if you keep it, because
I think that Harvey stole money from them.
Well, no, that part too. Yeah.
Harvey or Larry stole the money. Like, don't get me wrong. Harvey or Larry stole the money, and then Larry pulled the gun on some whatever.
Probably Larry.
Yeah, and then like Larry probably stole their fucking money, and then Larry was on some fucking whack ass shit with the gun. But I think that really just kind of set the shit off, right? Like it was an altercation, but I don't think it was like an ongoing thing. Like I think that the shit happened,
right?
And then they got super paranoid, and then Carlton is having a fucking psychotic break, and and Patrick is like, well, this my nigga, this my friend. If he say that the threat is ongoing, then it's ongoing. It was very much my enemies are after me. Give me your Amex. Like
right.
Yes.
But like with like niggas and guns, like it was like but with niggas and 38s, like that was exactly what it was. Like it was like the threat is imminent, and he was like, "What threat?" And he was like, "No, the demonic forces and the witches are coming with their brooms. We got to get." And so I legitimately think Patrick was like, "They're after us." Because Carlton said so, and Carlton is in the middle of a psychotic break and is not telling Patrick that he is not seeing Harvey and Larry. He's seeing fucking witches and angels. Like he's telling him he's being threatened, but he's not saying by what. And so Patrick is assuming it's fucking Larry and Harvey.
It's the two that y'all got into the scuffle about.
He's assuming that they're the scuffle, but Carlton is on some other
the altercation. Because when he called his mans, he said,
it's very possible.
Carlton is into some shit, and I gotta have his back. So the first altercation,
and I got his back.
All of y'all got into it. Maybe the first altercation was all four of y'all. But anything after that, it probably was Carlton and his psychotic shit and being like, yo, they coming. You know what I mean? I don't know where Peter's taking us.
Paranoid, but they coming. And it just was a break. Like, I don't think anything past those initial altercations was real. I think it is something Carlton made up in his head. Like, because it doesn't make sense to me either way.
Regardless of anything, one thing Harvey said in one of the pieces they interviewed him, he said, yo, I knew these guys for 6 days. How could any of this possibly happen? And you know, when you think about it, like shit, that's kind of real.
It's like how can something have festered in less than a week?
Right, the stolen gun and the money, whatever. That shit happened.
That shit happened. Yeah.
What could have happened? And that's what I'm saying. Chris was like, they told me not to go to the door. And I mean, like, God damn. Like 2 days later, they had guns and shit. Carlton was in the mid. That's like Carlton was.
You make a very valid point.
Like Carlton, like he had a psychotic break, and I think it was exacerbated by that incident. But he had to be like already well on his way. It is the only thing that makes sense. He had been struggling since they got there, and nobody noticed. It has to be because what else makes sense? Like it escalated in 7 days to that.
and
to
your
rifles
world
and not opening the door.
Yeah. And now think about it. Your world has changed because, like you said, he's forced to live with people. You're only living with Patrick and Chris. Now all of a sudden, dude is thrown into your crib until he can get a crib. He brings his cousin. You're now forced. If you're gonna live here, these people now still live with you. So yeah, it could have just pushed some way the fuck over the edge. So
it's just that's crazy. So at some point, like we get an interview.
These are just our theories, though, guys. Y'all can watch it. And
I don't know. Like, I'm not. Hey, I'm not a licensed psychologist. I just play one on TV.
But now, before in the interview that we're talking about, though, this is where he admits to killing Patrick. The second interview is where he tells them that he killed Patrick.
911 at some point. Like he calls 911. They have to take him to the goddamn hospital.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the FBI,
I'm not wanted, but they want to talk to me. Yeah.
They pick him up from the hospital. Like Carlton is in the throes of a serious psychotic break because they pick him up from the hospital. And they're just like, so come talk to us.
Come to the hotel. Come into my hotel. Sorry.
You know what song I wanted to sing that I'm not going to sing because a certain somebody is, we're not going to sing.
That's what she was just
That's
saying.
exactly, that's what I was about to sing. And
I saw the pink mask.
Yeah, messed the lyrics up on purpose.
We'll have to talk about how gross that part is someday, but
what the Pied Piper part?
Pied Piper leading fucking children to their deaths. Good God.
I ain't never told y'all that somebody told me they was like, but you don't know the story of the Pied Piper. I said, evidently you don't know the story of the Pied Piper, bitch.
You don't know the fucking story of the Pied Piper.
They know the version with rats.
He killed the city. No, he killed the city of the rats. But the people didn't give him his money, so now I'm taking all your children. And the person was like, "What?" I said, "Yes, bitch, that's the real story." That's
but they just know. But I'm saying they know the rat story.
Like, because there's another version where he just brings the rats back, right, to the town.
Yes.
Isn't that like one of the
that's the cleaned up version that they tell children?
That's not really what the fuck.
That's not the original.
Exactly. But really.
So Carlton admits to shooting Patrick. He tells this interesting story. He says basically that they get out the car to go shoot. Patrick points the gun at him and tries to shoot him. The gun misfires. And Carlton says that he says, "Father, forgive me," and then shoots Patrick in the head.
Right.
And then just leaves him, gets in the car, goes home, takes a shower, changes clothes, dumps the gun in Dallas while he's driving the Tahoe, drives all the way to Maryland, and his uncle helps him wipe down the car and get rid of it.
Right. And they drive it all the way back to Virginia Beach.
And then
I live out here. That is a long way from fucking mid-Maryland to go dump a fucking car. I don't give a fuck what
they somehow got back home. So I'm just like, who did they call to come pick them up?
Come on, because that's like Virginia Beach is a 3-hour ride for me, so it definitely had to be like a 5 or 6 hour ride for them.
Oh shit, never mind. They just the uncle drove his car
down.
Never mind, his uncle drove his car.
Probably, yeah. Followed them down and then just real shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
gross. So this is where. So July 25th, they found Patrick's body is found. They find the box of ammunition, and after this is when Bliss starts to kind of like lose his shit,
and he starts the rumors and shit.
Right. Yeah, so the DA is also trying to corroborate, I guess, Carlton's story. So that's also going on simultaneously, right? So,
can I say one more thing real quick?
Oh, and they gave Harvey a lie detector test. A lie detector test. And he was not the father. No, but he passed.
He said they asked him about the threats, and I think what happened is they didn't ask. And what I think what happened is he's not the one that directly threatened them. He was present.
Right.
Mm-hmm. He passed the fucking test because he didn't threaten anybody, and 2, he didn't kill anybody. He was present while Larry was waving a gun at people and stealing their money.
Yes, absolutely.
Did this not give y'all the vibes of, because remember they searched. Bob Fuller says, "Oh, I just wanted to search again." Remember in fucking How to Make a Murderer when they never found shit and then all of a sudden they found the
all of a sudden the key came out?
Yeah. Like this shit, where he said he found this guy, y'all walked past this area. Y'all showed us where y'all was at.
Y'all literally showed us.
Ditch 50 million times. How did, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden Bob Fuller's like, well, I just decided to go back out there one more time. And all of a sudden you find shell casings, you find him. Come on. It's
I mean, he said that he went down a little like other path that maybe they didn't explore because it went down into the water or something. That's what he said.
I don't think they did a thorough search.
Never been there.
I don't think they did a thorough search. I think that they were out there looking, and when you have volunteers and people in the fucking Texas sun in the middle of the summer, like you get what you get. Like I would hope and pray that they did their best.
I don't see nobody child.
Like, you know what?
I mean, I would hope like they did their best, but like they didn't bring any dogs or anything. They just had people out there searching. So
what the
and also it wasn't like
though.
super decomped yet, right? So because that's what Fuller says is that the smell brought him there.
Right, but think about what the DA said. Because this is Baylor, and a lot of people, when this documentary starts off, a lot of people say that the tragedy and the scandal of 2003, nobody fucking talks about. When they interview the DA, I can't remember his name. He says it. He's like, they're looking for the kid. Nobody can find shit. And what does he say? He says eventually they have to produce a body. And so that's when it gets to me. It's kind of like you're trying to sweep this shit under the rug so bad. You don't even want to really find this kid. Because that makes me feel like, come on, this dude didn't just go back out here by himself. And yeah, I get it. The smell can you know, you're gonna chase the smell. But at the same fucking time, they said they brought out their cops from other towns. The FBI is there, and nobody found shit. No, y'all niggas didn't want to find shit because if you don't find a body, this goes away. So
I agree. Yeah. So Patrick's body's out there. He's been out there this whole entire time since the 12th. We're in July. They haven't identified any dental records, and with that much decomposition, there wasn't much left. And we're talking about somebody that was like 6'9".
Mm-hmm.
So like, much it wasn't left that they was able to show us the fucking video of him being on the bag because there was really nothing there.
Yeah, you can see like some brown pieces of clothing and bone. Like there was nothing left of him. And then which they didn't talk about it in the documentary, but there was for a while before they did the autopsy, they thought that maybe he had been decapitated because animals could scavenge his body to the point to where his head was missing from his body. They found it.
That's how long that baby boy was out there. That's horrible.
Yeah, he was out there for a very long time. And like they said, and then the sun is so like the sun out here. Like he was probably a completely different color. Like they said, he probably blended in with the fucking ground. Like he had been. It just makes me sad. Like this whole part made me sad. Like I was just sitting there. I was like, I need a drink. Like it was a lot because he was a kid.
This was a high yellow, light skinned man who is now the same color of the ground.
Dirt.
The sun had been beating on him for so long in the Texas sun in fucking July. From June to the end of July, this kid is baking in the sun dead.
You know, I'm just glad that, regardless of whatever the reason is, I'm glad he went back out there because a couple of more days, there would have been nothing to find.
Yeah, facts. Facts.
There just wouldn't have been anything. So they have an internal inquiry going on. And Coach Bliss is telling the players that Patrick was paying for school by selling drugs. And
you guys know, you've seen it.
And then Bliss is bribing the coaches or saying he basically makes a comment when they have a coaches meeting. And he was like, well, shit, he was like, I'll give 4 Cadillacs to whichever coach says they were paying, paying Patrick's tuition.
Right. Because he now does not want to get caught up in this shit. And I think, but this is why he was so nonchalant about this kid missing. He didn't give a fuck about this kid missing. He gave a fuck about his own career and his own ass. And it began to show.
The way he looked at it is that he was $40,000 richer for the next.
Yep.
Like that's what he looked at it as. So remember we talked about that nigga A-Bar. Remember how we were saying how like he was so like committed to like, you know what I'm saying, like being a real upstanding ass nigga. So he's like, look, he listening to this white man tell these lies about this black kid, and I think that he felt very compelled to be like, hold on a second. Now we'll go back and forth, and people will go back and forth about whether he was wrong or right in this situation, but I understood where he was coming from. So he goes and gets his own.
People think he was wrong were a bunch of white head coaches. Coach K, I saw your bitch ass up there talking about it.
Coach K was up there. Jim Boeheim was up there, and the black guy from, I think he coaches Utah at that time, was on that interview.
I can't remember his name, but absolutely, they all said
very embarrassing for all of them.
It's embarrassing, fucking embarrassing. If any, I just want anybody to stick a fucking mic, a hot mic in their faces today and be like, so what was that about a dead kid and nobody saying anything?
And you didn't, and you thought it was wrong of the one person that cared enough,
right?
To like at least be able to fucking keep his legacy like real, like, because that's what he was doing. He was basically trying to fucking another black man, that nigga, like after he died.
Yeah, they tried to equate it to simply somebody being on your staff and lying or complaining about something that they don't like. Yeah. And it's like, nah, nigga.
Or recording your conversations.
Right, like invading privacy and trust, right?
Yeah, that's what they were trying to make it about. And it's like, no, it's about a dead kid and somebody trying to besmirch his name and say that he was a drug dealer and a druggie, which Coach Bliss fucking got.
Said it more than once.
Coach Bliss was moving his fucking mouth around like Bobby Brown, so let's not do this.
But yeah, I like, girl. Okay, I'm not the only person that saw it.
It was giving he was high or his dentures was coming out. Either way, I don't want it.
No, that wasn't his fucking dentures. Fuck that. No.
Okay. So like I said, A-Bar felt compelled to be able to at least. I just think he was just more so like trying to like salvage this man's fucking legacy of whatever. You know, he's gone. Like they found his body, whatever. He goes and gets a reporter and he fucking hot mics himself to go about his job, just to go in the next day. And what's so interesting is that I like after all of this shit happened, like I ain't see no fuck, I ain't hear no recording or nothing in the recordings about X's and O's, my nigga. Like nothing. Like
no, never. He goes in there and fucking writes on the goddamn board plausible deniability. And I'm just like, excuse me?
Reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt. I mean, because like he dead, so like we'll just say it's drugs.
But he kept saying he won't say anything because he's dead. Like I was just like, Jesus fucking like even if this is what the fuck you're going to do you have to keep saying, well, it doesn't matter what he thinks, he's dead? Like it was so disrespectful. Like even if you're going to do that, you can't leave that man with like a little bit of fucking respect when he did it. He's dead. It doesn't matter. Like it was my God.
And he didn't give a fuck because he's telling the coach that we're gonna tell the kids to lie. Then the next day he goes to the kids and tells them to lie. And the only person that's not in this room is Harvey. And when they say, you think Harvey's going to go along with it? What does he say? Well,
Hell yeah. Because we have his back. We be having his back, so he got ours. Like,
yeah.
So this goes to show
that nigga Harvey lied, and it's easier to tell the truth. He got us. Like that's the shit they're saying.
Yeah. So this kind of proves that they knew that Harvey and them stole them boys' money and threatened them with them guns, and because they covered it up. You know what I'm saying? It was like, fuck it. And in the essence of, even though Denny was a better ball player than Harvey, Harvey was actually there on the school's money, and Denny wasn't. And fuck it, you might be a better ball player, but if you're gone and I can get these kids to lie about it, nobody's ever going to come look at me.
Exactly.
And I want y'all to keep in mind, again, the timeline of this is very, very tight. This is July 31st that Bliss is like, trying to pump these kids to say that they saw that Carlton and Patrick were selling drugs.
Remember that one time where y'all was all in his apartment?
Like saying,
he came out with a spray and smorgasbord of drugs. Like,
he had mushrooms and psychedelics and pills and crack pipes and PCP and LSD and Molly. But he's
dictating also how it would have happened. Because what he says is how real drug deals happen. But my nigga, like, how would you know this, Coach Bliss? Because he's like,
Because
yeah,
he
it
buys
tells them
drugs. What the
that
fuck are you
went
talking about? The nigga got
exactly.
coke mouth.
He's like, yo,
Yeah,
when they go in,
that's all I'm
you
trying
guys
to
are
say.
playing video
Like,
games, and
he got coke mouth.
pauses the
Of course
game, and yeah.
Of course he fucking knows how to.
oh, Jesus Christ.
That man
Anyway,
coached at SMU for 11 motherfucking years. You think them kids wasn't fucking buying and these two weren't selling drugs. These two.
Right.
Truly. Like he said all of that shit, Sam. Like, you know,
these two weren't selling drugs. Can't say shit for the rest of them. Man been coaching longer than we've been alive. You mean he knows what the fuck drug deals look like. He's been in a few.
He's been in them. Yes.
He's been in a few. He might have bought some people some things. He's buying himself some things.
So July 31st.
6 fucking days after they find this child's body, this is what they're doing.
Yes.
Right.
Bliss tells Ellis Kid like the story, right? Like how we was all at the y'all was all at the house, y'all was kicking it. He brought up the tray, he had the wad of money, he had like $50 or $100 bills, like, and the roommate, remember Weird Al Yankovic, Chris, he's like, look, like I saw guns at the beginning, like at the end of it all, like, but before that, I never really seen that shit. He was like, he was like, selling drugs? Absolutely not. Like, because I think they were all saying how Patrick smoked weed, but he was like, because I feel like he's also the roommate that would not be cool with that. Like, he's super cool with everything else, but like, he wouldn't be cool with like mad traffic of niggas coming in.
Like, no, if they were actually fucking selling drugs out of the apartment, he would have called a tip line or something.
Exactly.
Or moved out. And if he didn't snitch, he would have moved out. And then when they interviewed him, and then when they interviewed him now, that he'd have been like, yeah, they were selling drugs. Like
exactly, because like, who are you fucking not lying to at this point?
One person's dead and the other person's in jail. So who would you be protecting at this point? Like,
right. And he was just like, nah, I don't know nothing about that. Like, he was like, I can't, it didn't happen. Like, he basically, like, I feel like he was confident. He was like, I don't believe that shit was happening. Like,
that didn't happen. So RT Gwen, basically he gets his story, packed extra tight, and was like, I'm gonna go tell the story. So they put the little white man out there and was like, go ahead and use your white privilege negatively and go tell the inquiry board, reverse white privilege, go tell the inquiry board that these niggers were selling drugs.
Yep. The same story I told you.
And possibly probably told the police that shit too.
Now, mind you, he told them, remember the part where they said he gave Ellis Kid and RT Gwen a tape recorder. So go home and practice this shit. Just sit in front of the tape
like
recorder.
Record yourself, listen back, like
get yourself. Keep in mind, they supposed to be playing basketball, and the basketball been brought out. Ain't nobody
I haven't on the seen a basketball.
They ain't been in the gym,
not seen a basketball.
No gym shoes, no gym shorts, nothing about
no
the
whistles.
The only thing they do is sit in the locker room and practice lies on the tape.
They good.
No
fucking.
Yes, they send the white man and be like, go white devil, do your work. So he did. And I just have in my notes that Bliss is an asshole, because then on August 8th, because then after all this practicing and hemming and hawing and recording and whatever else,
this is the funniest shit to me.
Like, basically, he done did all this fucking stalling and stunting and shit to try to keep his job, and then the inquiry board basically was like, we're gonna need to see your bank statements. And then he was like, oh, you got me. And
can I have everybody else clear the room? I gotta talk to my friend. Apologize.
And so then he tells me, he was like, you caught me. I totally was paying his tuition. And then it's on August 8th, this motherfucker resigns.
Yes, the same day. All the same day.
Did all of this fucking shit, had these kids lying and shit, making up stories, fucking throwing dirt on a dead man's name, only to resign like a month later. It's not funny, but
I mean, hold on, wait, not even a month later, because August 1st is the third day of the recording. And August 8th is when the committee was like, but let me see those bank statements.
It's so bad. Like, I'm laughing because it's horrible. Like,
it's terrible.
They asked for the bank statements because Gwen came out and told his story, and then right a couple days later was like, "Nah,
that didn't happen."
Right. I don't even know why I said that, y'all. You know what I mean? And then they was like, "Oh, where are you lying?" Hey, coach, let me holler.
That's because he went and told somebody else he said that shit, and he was like, "Why the fuck you say that shit?"
Right.
Tell these niggas you ain't don't know nothing about that. That's literally what happened. He literally took it right back. So we talking about 7 days since he was handing niggas recorders and telling them to practice and shit. They was like, okay, so I don't really know how you've been preparing for this, but we'll start with your fucking bank statements, and then we'll just go from there. He was like, oh, fuck, I thought y'all was gonna like ask me questions.
Like, oh shit, y'all are gonna do actual investigation? Oh, because you were my nigga, like, and we play golf together on the weekends, and our wives like go to racquetball. That I thought we weren't gonna do that part.
You're gonna like standard procedure. I'm gonna go ahead and head out.
Actually inquire. The inquiry.
But now, what gets me though is what gets me is you go through all of this. The way it happens, and then you ask him about his bank statements. He admits to paying his kids tuition, and all he does is resign. You don't ask him about a murder. You don't ask him why'd you stop paying the tuition, because he had to stop. Well, I guess the year was already paid. Point being is you see that this guy is now more closely linked to this kid, and now he's running this kid's name through the mud. And y'all never take him. And he
did. And y'all never asked him about y'all never asked him about that.
Well, I will say
y'all just let him just gracefully bow out, basically.
Well, I will say that the inquiry board is not made up of like FBI or anything. It's people that work at the university, right? So
I'm saying the FBI themselves, though.
The FBI should have, yes, but the inquiry board themselves, the scope of their investigation, they were the ones that asked for the bank statements. The inquiry.
Right, okay.
So at that point, when he resigned, there was nothing more for them to inquire about.
Right.
Like
I get it. I'm not. Yeah, they're done with their job, but the FBI knows what the fuck going on. And I mean, it was national news that this nigga resigned. Like, I just feel like
again, they should at least ask more questions. They should at least be like, "Did you murder this nigga? Where were you?" Like, you think they'd have asked something?
The fact that everybody kept focusing on is Baylor. How many people in that town were actually either Baylor alum or connected to Baylor somehow and involved in this case? They just wanted this shit to go away. Whatever way we can get this stain off of Baylor. That's what we're going to do. Tuition, let him resign. Let him get the fuck up out of here. It's gonna go away.
And he did. But I will say that he took this opportunity. Now, Dave Bliss is a fucking moron. Let's just go ahead and preference that. He's a horrible person, and he's also a goddamn idiot. Because Dave is sitting there on this chair, like I am propped up on this chair, and he was like, "Well, you know, he was really selling drugs."
He said, "Is this off camera?"
He says, off the record. Now, at this point, the goddamn person doing the fucking documentary was like, "Bitch, please, I will never turn this goddamn camera off."
But yes, it's off. Go ahead, run your mouth.
And so he's sitting there, and I guess at some point he was like, "Nah, I don't trust him." He's still recording. Stands up and starts walking around off camera like we still don't know it's fucking you. Like we didn't see you get up and walk off and continuously hear your voice. Like just gets up and starts talking, like walks over and is like standing beside the cameraman with his arm on his shoulder, like, "Yeah, he's total fucking druggy, man."
You know, he was really selling drugs though. Like,
but he said the killing part to me was he was selling drugs, but he was selling drugs only to the white guys.
He was selling drugs to the white guys on campus. Says that he was doing the drugs. Then he was like, "But and he was like, and then I had to settle with his family, not for a lot of money or whatever, but I didn't do it." He's like, "I didn't do anything.
It was easier to make it go away."
And then he was like, I didn't do anything. I was just talking bad about their kid. Their dead fucking kid.
Their dead fucking kid that you're still sitting here right now talking bad about.
He's dead. This man.
Look, though. That's how you know this nigga was arrogant. This nigga sits right back down and looks dead in the camera and goes, "But you can't use any of that anyway."
But you can't use any of that.
Goes to tell some more bullshit. Like, it's almost like, I got away with this shit.
It's already been proven that you was paying this nigga tuition. Why are you still sitting in front of this white man's camera, still trying to perpetuate that fucking story? Like, what are we doing here? He is literally a fucking monster, you guys. And
yes,
horrible person. And when we tell you where he ends up, you're gonna fucking die. Because
you're gonna fucking die.
Because I was sitting on my couch with like my legs crossed, like sitting cross-legged on the couch. I just uncrossed my legs and put my feet on the floor and was like,
word. Real shit. I sat up, I was laying down watching this shit. And I sat up like,
are you fucking serious?
Right.
Like,
okay.
He's a goddamn like he's a fucking like he's a monster, like a fucking monster. And if he was willing to do this shit,
he's literally Randall from Monsters Inc.
he's horrible. And if he was willing to do this to a fucking kid that was murdered after he promised this child's parents he would take care of them, he coached for like 20. He coached for 1,000 years before that. God only knows what he was doing to those fucking kids. Like, God only knows. Like, what the fuck he was saying and doing to those kids before this one came up dead. Like,
wild times.
I don't give a fuck how Christian. I don't care how many Fellowship of Christian Athletes conventions that nigga speaks at. I don't care how many books he writes about Jesus. He is never seeing heaven. That bitch is gonna be in hell with Reagan.
We will walk past him. We gonna walk. He's hella old, and we gonna walk past him because he's still gonna be outside the club trying to get in. Like,
my God, like, you will be there with him. Like, just please hold on a little longer. Like, just. You are going to be in hell. I don't care how many prayers you say. I don't care how much like, I know that they say that the Lord forgives if you ask for forgiveness, but there's just nothing in me that feels like
he has to turn off his hearing aid for some of these niggas. Like, I can't. Like,
because my thing though is like, nigga, you claim born again Christian now. Like you said, you were written a Christian book. You're a coach now at a Christian college, and you're in this position currently. Sitting
and
there,
you're still sitting here on this fucking camera talking shit up, making up stories that we already know you made up, and still perpetuating this story. This is what I'm saying. And he's teaching at somebody's fucking church school.
Coaching, praying with these
coaching,
standing
in front of other people.
My God,
like, get the fuck out of here.
And this is what they say about demons coming into your life and the demons being the ones to lead you astray, because that motherfucker is a demon. And those poor children, I can't imagine. I cannot fucking imagine.
No lie.
Leading them the fuck.
Because just like Penrose said earlier, Patrick would have been fine in fucking New Mexico.
Yep. Never had to leave.
Like, at the end of the fucking day, that nigga could have left and went to Baylor, and Patrick could have stayed and still, and we would have obviously seen and heard more of him because he would have been away from this fucking weird ass nigga.
Oh my God.
Okay. So then the tapes get out. The tapes get out.
So yeah, A-Bar has been recording. The tapes get out. The tapes get sent to the NCAA. They let the reporter transcribe the tapes making the rounds with the lawyer. Everybody got tapes.
Yeah, tapes for sale. Okay, Patrick's dad definitely said on camera that he don't care how weak he is. If he catches nigga in the streets, he's going to pop him. And I felt that. I felt that from the bottom of my soul. Like, I really did. Like,
because it should be. Because what else is there? Your child is never fucking coming back. Your kid is not coming back, and this bitch had the nerve to get on camera and try to make it seem like your kid was a fucking coked out drug dealer who wasn't focused on playing basketball, and he was paying his $40,000 fucking a year tuition selling drugs.
Right.
I don't fucking.
They literally trying to make him Tyreek St. Patrick. Like, I cannot now.
Explain to me how somebody's selling fucking drugs in Waco. Little bitty fucking outpost, like, it's people out there, but Waco is not the bastion of fucking urban living. It's literally the goddamn fucking fields. So the fields of goddamn, like it's nothing out there but the
school. To the fucking.
So you mean to tell me that this child was selling so many fucking drugs that he had 40K just laying around to pay tuition?
Baylor.
It's not that many Baylor. He would have had to been selling fucking drugs to the entirety of the campus. Everybody.
Right. Everybody.
Like it doesn't even fucking make sense. Like as a lie, like it's horrible because
Abar had just come, and so he became his connect, and like, then like they fluctuated. Like
he got more drugs. Right.
You're not selling $40,000 in fucking drugs to college students when probably 1% of them are probably like if they're doing drugs, they're smoking weed. Honestly, how many people did you know
that's what everybody
20 and 21 that were just doing every hard drug they could think of? Most people were just smoking weed.
For real. True
we were broke. People were fucking buying dime bags. Who the fuck?
Like literally Nick bags, nigga. Like, come on now.
I'm just confused as to why these kids would have enough money for him to make 40
this nigga through college.
Like Jesus, he said that like that was fucking couch cushion money. Yeah, he was selling enough drugs to have $40,000.
I mean, and to still like go live his life too, like,
and then still also pay rent and for food because he wasn't on scholarship.
And the thing about it though, this 40,000 had to
because it was just a down payment, so he had a car note too.
This shit had to come before he left New Mexico though, because he was only on Baylor campus for a month and a half before he was there.
Like, what really the fuck, man? It's really all of this, y'all.
He sold $40,000 in drugs when he got on campus in May and paid his tuition for the upcoming semester in fucking 12 days. 15 days.
Now, mind you, he balled out, made all this money, but they had already gave this nigga school housing before he gave them any money, and then made enough money to go and be like, oh yeah, thanks for the couple month and a half that y'all let me be here. Here go this 40 racks for the year. We Gucci. We good.
He got a 40,000 out of you.
It's not funny. He's dead. Like,
it's not. But it's so ridiculous what story this nigga was trying to tell. He's the fucking devil.
Said. That's what Abar Rouse said. He was like, this story. Like he was like, I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at the situation, but this is so like ridiculous. The lies he was
so fucking ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
And,
October 28th, Carlton is examined to determine if he's competent to stand trial. We get a lot of this portion with his original lawyer, Grady Urban, who's a black man, and he's just kind of talking about the way trials go. So generally speaking, when somebody is basically if they think you may not be mentally competent to stand trial, what happens is they have people evaluate you. Normally, you want to have more than one person do this. That way, if there's a tie, you basically you want a second opinion. But in this case, you want three opinions. That way, two outweigh the one.
Right.
They find him competent to stand trial. Can't imagine how that's possible.
Right.
They didn't see him. They didn't speak to him. They rock, paper, scissors. I don't really know. Like, because it's not, they couldn't have seen him. Like, it's like the last time that, like, come on. Like, I don't think that he was in any position to have felt any better, especially now that he just admitted to killing his friend.
Right.
Like, I can't see how his mental state would have gotten better at this point.
Keep in mind they have him on anti-psychosis medication. So they say that he is competent to stand trial, but then also say, hey, but I'm on
an antipsychotic, but I'm competent to stand trial.
Which, generally speaking, if you are on the antipsychotic and you say, well, I am thinking clearly and I do understand what I did. I did murder this person.
Would let you.
I'm aware. So there are certain circumstances where you can't have a mental illness, but it does not affect your ability to understand right from wrong. And that's normally
not when they don't ask you. But not when they don't ask you, though.
That part, but also when they say you're competent to stand trial, but also keep taking the meds because you don't seem quite right. So he's competent, but also keep taking the meds because they don't seem to have
to make sure.
Right.
They don't seem to have evened you out all the way. So just keep taking them, and maybe you'll be like evened out by trial.
By the time trial starts,
which never
that's basically how they're treating this.
Right, which never actually happened. Yeah, it was a lot going on with this joint.
Oh God! So the evidence.
So let's talk about what the evidence shows. Right. So what it shows is that Carlton shot Patrick in the back, and then shot in the back of the head, right? And then shot him from the ground. Like, so now he's on the ground and he's standing over him. Like,
so he didn't shoot. So he says initially that he shot Patrick once. When they do the autopsy, he didn't shoot Patrick once. He shoots Patrick when basically Patrick's in front of him. So Patrick is on this side, like
shooting the guns into the abyss, like they were supposed to be.
Into the woods. Carlton comes up on what would be his right side and shoots the gun. So it doesn't hit him directly in the back of the head. It goes in behind his ear and then comes out the front of his head. Mm-hmm. So once he hits the ground, which he would have dropped face forward with his head like this, Carlton stands over him and shoots him in the head again. And then there's an entrance wound on the side straight through.
Down.
Right.
So yeah, the evidence does not support the story that Carlton is told. He just shot him. He had a psychotic problem. Thought he was I really think he thought he was a fucking demon and shot him. Like, I think he was having a hallucination and he shot him. Because because the thing about this documentary that was really frustrating to me is they never find a motive for this, right? Never a motive for this.
And everybody that they've interviewed that know these two people, they can't even figure it out. The girlfriend can't figure out why he would have done that. The roommate can't think of why he would have done that. The best friend can't think of a reason that he would have done that. The parents don't fucking know. No one knows why he would have done this. Yep. No bar. A bar don't nobody.
There's no resolution on that regard. Like, nobody knows why he did this. So the real only explanation is he, in his psychotic break, thought that he was somebody else or a witch or a demon or something and shot him. Or a voice told him to shoot him, but he has a personality disorder, but he's not schizophrenic. So I don't know if he hears voices. So let me scale it back. I don't know that he hears voices. But something in him compelled him to shoot Patrick. And I guess we'll never know what. Like
So Baylor is like, oops, this is crazy. Like, that all these people are like involved with like our school and like all these like maybe drug allegations, like niggas coming up dead, like lies being told under oath. Like, okay, so what we would really like to do is like really get this shit away from us, like for our reputation. And so they change the lawyers at this point, right? And the lawyers, if I'm not mistaken, are Baylor. Like,
they're both Baylor Law School
graduates. Yeah.
Baylor Law School graduates. And everybody's thinking, like, for something like this, is I think they said 60 years is what prosecution was looking to ask for.
So in the state of Texas, what they consider a life sentence, if you are not sentenced to death, is 60 years. Because they feel like that should be the average lifespan. If you're sentenced as an adult, that would make you over 18. That would make you 78 years old minimum. That's a life sentence. You're going to die in prison at that point. Unless they fry you. The lawyers
are like, But the lawyers are like, well, let's try to go for 30. And everybody's fucking appalled because what are we saying here? Like, because we're, like you said, they equate 60 to a life sentence. Like, so 30 sounds like a nigga could be walking around.
Well, keep in mind, and he would be in Carlton's case, right? Because he was probably 17 or 18 when this initially happened. We're about 2 years removed at this point. So he's 20 at the most. So if they're giving him 30 years, he gets out at 50. 50 is like the new 40 for motherfuckers. Like, 50 is not old these days. 50 is a full motherfucking life. You get out, you can get these young tenders knocked up, have a baby, get married, the whole thing.
All of that.
50 is not nothing now. Like, it really is not. 50 is not doing shit. So they were like,
and I just want to remind you guys that they never asked Carlton if he felt competent enough to be on trial.
No, they didn't ask.
I just want to remind y'all. The doctors came to their conclusion, however they came to their conclusion, and the fucking lawyers waived his fucking rights and they move forward. Like that shit is very wild to me.
He signed
saw his
away.
uncle and his grandma, and the grandma said that I didn't understand this part, so maybe y'all got it. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. How the fuck did the grandma come to the conclusion that he was going to be out in 5 years?
In 5 years,
because that, so the deal that they gave him, not the deal.
Well, they didn't give him.
Right when they went and asked, could they get the 30? They said that whatever I forgot what the words were. It was 5 to 99, and so she heard it. She heard 5 years. I think that's what they told her. And what they did by him waiving everything and them presenting it like they presented it, not really having the case. That's why the judge was like, "All right, 35 years." You know what I mean? He could have
came up somehow, but it wasn't a real like fucking deal that prosecution offered them. And I think that that's just what they were telling them so that they
think the defense, maybe the defense attorneys went there and were like, yeah, if he takes this deal, talk to him, he'll take it, he'll just be out, and they'll give him 30.
Get 5 years.
Yeah, but he'll get out in 5, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that shit. Okay, that makes sense, because I was like very confused about how she got 5. So basically what happens is some very like magical legal ring the dagling. So they go into court. They've got a different judge, and the judge has been handling this previously. And so basically what the defense does is goes to the DA, and DA is like, hey, or the defense is like, hey, we don't really want this to go to trial, but what if we just let the judge decide the sentencing? Like, he'll plead guilty, so we can just say he's guilty, but we'll let the judge listen to the facts in the case, and the judge can sentence him.
Right.
The DA's like, not normally like how to conduct things, but fuck it, I'll feel the judge will be fair, we'll do that. Judge is also a Baylor grad, he gets 35. Now the DA, because he still has to fucking work as a lawyer, is not going to say anything to incriminate himself. So he dances around the fact that he thinks that all of these people who are Baylor graduates worked very hard to bury this situation and get it just off the dockets and out of their fucking minds.
So that the school can move on with its life, basically.
Yeah, like he said everything but that was what the implications were, because he also mentions a few things about like legality, right? Like you have to write up like pretrial motions, you have to write up like a summary of things, like the case has to be reviewed. Like none of those things happen. Like he was saying he see it take 6 months for like shoplifting charges, but all of a sudden you're able to push this shit through in 7 days.
Right, and a fucking week.
Like, what are we talking about? And you have somebody on anti-psychosis meds and possibly dealing with a mental like it's wild. Like I've never, like even me, like my reading and research for like Murder Bureau, like I've never seen anybody do that in 7 fucking days with the amount of evidence and extenuating circumstances in the case.
And
like that's fucking crazy. Like
that's insane.
Yeah, anyway, 35 years. But by agreeing to this plea deal, Carlton he waives his right to an appeal, which I have
what the fuck?
I had never, like, I know you, like, I thought, because I did not know you could waive your right to an appeal. I did not know that you could plead guilty and just waive all rights to possible appeal.
Because that sounds stupid. Like, why would you even want to do that?
Why would you do that?
Right.
Why is that an option? Well, I know why it's an option. Because they don't have to fucking deal with this.
So basically now basically at the next
5 days after he got sentenced, he tried to file an appeal, but I guess didn't realize that he fucking gave up that right.
He tries to file under the file. He tries to file it, which is normal. The normal one that people use is ineffective assistance of counsel, basically meaning that your lawyer didn't do everything that they could to provide you with the best legal representation that they could. Basically, they just didn't, which you see quite a bit when defendants are like the evidence is overwhelming in a lot of cases. You'll see like this be the defense active where they don't really call any witnesses or they don't really try to like dispute the facts. But it's like, and so people will come back and say that they're say that their counsel was ineffective. I think in Carlton's case, that is probably the case.
It definitely is the case.
I don't think they did what was in his caring. And that's the thing. And that's the problem a lot of times with like defense lawyers. Like in his case, the issue at hand was not whether or not he did it. The issue at hand was the extenuating circumstances that made him do it. And is he actually fit to stand trial? And should he be in a mental institution instead of in fucking jail?
Right. Exactly.
His lawyers don't bring any of that up. And then one of them goes on to become the district attorney, to become the fucking DA.
Ciao. So, Abar mentioned this like really interesting piece of information at this point in the documentary. He says that before they found Patrick's body, he was told by the coaching staff, he didn't give no names, but I could probably name one, that they gave him money to put Larry Johnson, which was, remember,
Harvey's cousin.
Yeah, Harvey's cousin, on a Greyhound and get him the fuck up out of town.
Yep.
Why would they do that before they found Patrick's body?
Well, they find a manila folder, right? Somebody at the Greyhound bus station calls the police and is like, I have a manila folder down here. With Baylor pictures in it, is it important? So that's when Abar tells us a story about somebody on the Baylor coaching staff buying a Greyhound bus ticket and telling him take Larry and drop him off.
Get him up out of here.
Yeah.
He's about to get caught.
Which is interesting because Larry was the only person that... Yeah. Larry was the only person that really had a gun. Which is like, well, why Abar have to... Because he's the cocaine dealer.
Right. Why Abar got to drop him off?
Because he's the cocaine kingpin.
If we all try to stay out of trouble, why wouldn't you send somebody that wasn't under investigation? Why you send him? When the people asking him about being a kingpin, why wouldn't you just send one of the white assistant coaches to drop him off? Why does he need to be dropped off?
You know why.
Why couldn't you just give Larry the Greyhound ticket and say, you need to get the fuck out of town? And if we find out you're still here, we're going to call the police. Like, why does anybody have to take Larry to the Greyhound station?
True shit. So the rest of the documentary is just Dave Bliss lying,
lots of lies. He coaches in Oklahoma, and that is very Oklahoma to be super Christian and just be like, everyone deserves a second chance. But what we find out is that Abar Rouse doesn't get a second chance. This is his one man.
Like I feel so like he is definitely one of the people that I definitely feel some way for. Like, was obviously besides Patrick and his family, like. Definitely Abar, because like I really think that he came here like with like the utmost respect for that fucking
stars in his fucking eyes,
and like the way that they fucking like tossed him to the side and like and the fucking and making the recording thing a bad thing, you know what I'm saying? Instead of weeding out a poison in your fucking system, like they turned it around and was like, well, and basically nobody felt like they could trust him. So he basically the thing that he wanted to do,
railroaded.
And it's crazy because it was a bunch of white coaches talking about how he doesn't get a job and I wouldn't put him on there because he recorded them. And then when they asked what he should have done instead, they were like, oh, well, he should have just stood up to the coach and said, no, I'm not going to do that. Which is what he did originally.
And that's what he did originally.
Which is what he did originally. And then he put his contract on his fucking desk and was like,
he asked him, did he want to get fired?
Fire you.
So then what? He was supposed to get fired, lose his job. And then it was going to be, and like the guy that was asking him was like, so he was supposed to lose his job, and then it was going to be his word against Coach Bliss's job.
The nigga that's been coaching since been coaching and scheming since been scheming. Like, is that the guy they were talking about?
Scheming. Exactly.
Oh my God, I'm gonna throw my mouth. Fellowship of Christian Athletes, like he's talking about accepting Jesus, and oh my God, it made me fucking convulse. Fun fact: I used to be part of the FCA.
What?
FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. That's a very big thing here in the South. So yeah.
Yes. Congratulations.
No congratulations. No congratulations. A lot of shit about being a leader and a role model and a beacon for Christ and converting people in Christ's love. And I was like, I got elbowed in my braces by a lady, like by a bitch that was like 5'11", trying to rebound a ball. I'm not going to shake her hand and talk to her about Jesus. I would like to go home.
Have you accepted Christ into your life?
Like I'm not doing that. I want to go home and eat some fucking Sonic cheese fries and do my fucking homework. Like I'm not doing that. And that is when I had to get out because I was like, I'm not like with these little prayers we saying is cute, but that far where you want me to like minister to people, like, buddy, I'm not doing it. That's between me and Jesus. That is not my ministry at all. And that's when it was like, for me, you got to get the fuck out of here. So that last
and I think you would do.
They were like, you gotta go, girl, because you are not trying. And I was like, you're absolutely the fuck right, because I'm trying to get into college and this shit is not helping, bud. Let them know. Choices have to be made. And Spanish Club looks way better than this. So
hola.
Adios.
So guys, that's basically it. Like I said, Abar really got the short end of the stick, and I really feel bad for him.
Carlton was eligible for parole in 2021. Pretty sure he didn't get out.
I mean, because we would have definitely heard
about
it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, he's still in prison.
We would have.
It was a long list of people that declined to be interviewed.
A lot of people
didn't want to be interviewed.
A lot of people. I wish Dave Bliss wouldn't have been wanting to. He loved being in front of the fucking camera.
That was wild to me. Like, why is your motherfucking ass sitting here? Like, RC Gwen was like.
Can't give a fuck.
And Abar said something. What did Abar say at the end when they showed that like picture of Dave? He was saying how like maybe like he wasn't supposed to be a coach or whatever like that, like, and he really loves what he does or whatever like that because he doesn't fit in. And then he was saying like how Dave like Dave has basically been forgiven, right? And he's repented his sins and like that. And he was like, and he's asked for forgiveness or whatever. And he feels like and people are acting like he's gotten that. But he's like, but nigga, I work in a prison and I work with fucking scammers and fucking evil niggas, and I know what fake fucking I know what fake accepting Christ in your life looks like.
It's like redemption, fake Christianity, like that.
Fake all of that shit.
Fake all of that. Like it just reminds me of every white person that's like Republican, that for evangelical Christian shit, that is him to a fucking T. I'm accepting Christ and Christ has forgiven me, but I have never spoken to Christ in my life. Demon, like I am a demon. The devil is speaking to me, but I am saying it is Christ and saying that Christ has forgiven me, but I have committed sin after sin, like all the time, 24/7, 365. But Christ is talking to me. Like, you've heard it here first. Right. Christ is not talking to any of you white ass demons. I'm so sorry, white people. I don't mean all of you, just the ones of you that are fake Christians, but the Lord is not talking to you. I am so sorry. He's not saying any fucking thing. Because the shit that y'all be like, oh, Jesus ain't said none of that. None. No, not a single bit of it. I'm so sorry.
But yeah, that's it, guys, right?
That's it, guys.
It was long. It was a lot. It was very convoluted. We're so sorry.
Yeah, we're so sorry, but I'm sure it's going to be a great listen back to. Okay, guys, again, this is Disgraced. You can find it on Showtime.
By way of add-ons for all of the streaming services.
Services.
Except for Netflix.
And then
they don't have add-ons.
That's it. So we'll see you guys next month, right?
Yeah, we'll see you in March.
Yeah.
Let's do a documentary about leprechauns.
That would be amazing. Do y'all remember that video where that nigga with the gold fronts was like, and they thought the leprechaun was in the
they had that crazy ass fucking like sketch.
That sketch.
Yep.
Everybody want to see a leprechaun say yeah.
Yeah. That's the documentary. The documentary on the leprechaun.
Exactly what
the leprechaun in the hood, like for real. Okay, anyway, guys, I'm Chris. That's BJ. That's Penrose, and we're all docked up. We'll see you next time.
Bye.